People think unusual circumstances mean complicated taxes, but for TurboTax Live experts, that's what makes things interesting. Maybe you were a full-time employee who decided to freelance this year, or maybe you started driving rideshare after your 9-to-5 job. Luckily, TurboTax Live has experienced tax experts dedicated to answering all of your tax questions and finding every deduction for you. TurboTax Live experts are ready to help you with your unique tax situation and get you the best tax outcome. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. You do your thing, they've got your taxes. Intuit TurboTax Live. What the hell happened to video games? It's January 2022, and everyone's got too much money. Except for us. That's why we're here doing the giant Bombcast. I'm Jeff Gerstmann, joined as always by Jan Ochoa. How's it going?
Hello. You said January 2022, and then I thought we just got rid of days, but we might as well.
Yeah.
Let's keep January like one long ass hour.
I mean, people keep talking about how it's still 2020 in some way. So let's just, I mean, you know, let's just optimize in that direction. Jeff Bakalar.
Hello.
What month is it where you are? I know there's a difference. Okay, it doesn't matter anymore.
I've acquired Wordle to better prepare myself for the metaverse.
That's smart.
Okay.
That's smart. That's smart. If you're not buying, you're selling. Jess O'Brien is here.
Yo.
How you doing?
I'm all right. I've been acquired by Jan, who's been acquired by Bakalar, who is under the corporate umbrella situation of another more mysterious entity.
Great. That mysterious entity is here. He is Jeff Grubb. Would you like to acquire Giant Bomb?
Yes. Come back over here. I'm going to spend $68 billion to acquire my friend Mikey Barr just to come back and hang out with me some more. I think that was a smart move by Phil Spencer. Well done.
Jeff Grubb, my first question for you, it was almost 69. What happened?
Yeah, someone really messed up there. You bet. Do you think that conversation happened? Do you think they said, well, we can't do 69?
I saw some places rounding up, though.
Tax.
I definitely saw headlines rounding up.
So it is like, in like most headlines, you would probably go 69 million. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen some people even round to 70, which I think is dishonest.
They're skipping. They're skipping that big number. Is what they're doing.
Exactly. They're trying to keep their headlines clean. Like, this is the gray lady. We can't write about $69 million in our newspaper. The red apple times.
You have to be in that meaty age where, like, you know that 69 is the sex number, but that you are also offended by it still. Like, there's like only a 10-year period where you fall into. But those are the people that run newspapers now, so for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if you're like printing a newspaper, you're like
we will print 69, and there is nothing funny about it.
That's right. We can't print as many today because I have to go get my shingles shot, but I'll be back.
Nice.
To make sure that we get some more out there.
Got him.
Old people do be getting shingles for sure. That's true.
That's true. Jeff Grubb of Grubb Snacks and Games Beat is here to join us on such a wild news day. Games Beat abbreviates to GB, and I find that very frustrating, Jeff Grubb.
Yeah, me too. I'm frequently confused when people are like talking to me about one or the other. I'm like, You gotta be clear. You gotta clarify. Help me out here, guys.
Yeah,
yep,
that's right.
Same with how many Jeffs are between all of them.
And when I'm reading, sometimes I'll read the Giant Bomb Reddit, and people are like Jeff G, and I'm like, oh, they still don't mean me. They've never meant me.
Yeah, that doesn't help either.
It's okay. I'm like, but it's like confusing for like the first 3 seconds every time I read it.
Mr.
Like,
Grubb, don't worry.
Fuck that guy. And you're like, wait, that's me. No, wait, that's not me. Yeah, fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. Yeah.
Whenever it's January and they start talking about Jan, and it's like, I don't know if it's me, is it the month? What do they hate?
And it's like January 2nd, like Jan 2, you're like, there's a second of me?
It's like, who the fuck hired another one?
That's right. we need to balance it out. You know, we need more Jans to go with all these Jeffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my barber's on standby.
Okay. Yeah. I could use. We're back at that point. I'm not going to go out and get a haircut. I don't feel comfortable going out of the house and getting a haircut anymore with how stuff is going. And so if you could send your barber my way and like,
he might actually
put
be
a
down.
glass shield.
Yeah, house
over,
call. Oh yeah.
Like one of those inside kind of.
You want him to be the bubble boy?
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, I want to be the bubble boy. I want to be a little bubble boy. Roll around. Oh, that sounds fun.
I'd pay for that.
Yeah. Microsoft said they're going to buy Activision. Why don't we start with some news? How about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, I forgot we can't hear the music anymore. I was like, you
played
got to hit the goddamn. Oh, right. $68.7 billion. For comparison, what we were talking about just a week or two ago as the biggest acquisition in video games was 2K getting Zynga for 11.
Do you think they knew? Do you think that Strauss Zelnick got word and was like, well, we got to go now before Zynga is worth more than 12 billion? That would be nuts.
Yeah. We've got to get what we can get while we can. I feel like the 2K acquisition thing between the Codemasters thing has been them on tilt going, we got to buy somebody. Fucking Zynga? Can we get Zynga? Buy fucking Zynga. Who else is going to buy Zynga? Let's get Zynga.
It's for like 5 times that amount of money, around that range. What is it, like it'd be maybe 5-6 times that much. They got Activision, Blizzard, and King.
Right.
This seems like actually a really good deal in those terms. Like if you look at it like that, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, and I wonder how much that price changed. It is like I don't have the numbers in front of me as to how much a premium over the current stock price is, but as that stock price has dropped recently,
20 to 40% of the premium.
Yeah. You know, with a lot of that stock drop being kind of pointed at Kotick and how the company's been being run lately. I wonder if any part of that deal changed over the last couple of months as Activision started to kind of spiral there. Really kind of puts the comments from Phil Spencer around the time that every platform head was making their internal statements about the Activision situation, taken in this context where he's just like, we're reevaluating every part of our partnership with Activision. It's like, yeah, I guess you fucking were, huh?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, what does that mean? What was he meaning by that, Grubb? We need you to answer. Speak for him.
Honestly, I think that most of this deal came together in the last couple of months. I'm like, everyone's always talking all the time, always, and everyone's got there's division side of these companies to saying, hey, this is how much it would be to go buy them. Maybe we should go sit down and have lunch with them, talk about that stuff. That stuff's happening all the time. But the word that I've gotten since today, and you know, this is in line with some stuff I was hearing before. The talks really began October, November, and Phil Spencer spent all of the holidays putting this deal together. Like this was pretty quick. It happened pretty quickly. Yeah. And it's like, to me, that it seems like the kind of thing that it maybe was on the table, but it really became the first and foremost priority when the stuff with Kotick started to happen. And it became clear that he would want out. And if someone could pay him the money to leave, he would do that. And now here we are. So,
yeah, I mean, if you're that guy and you're looking at a situation where you're like, well, I either get driven out by the stock price taking this hit and all this other stuff swirling around, or I find someone to buy this thing and I get to walk away with $300 million. Yep. Seems pretty obvious which one you would pick if you were him. How fucked is that? That guy gets to.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone else does that sort of thing, like if you're just a normal person, right, you're going to pay some real consequences, like legal. But if you reach a certain echelon of society, you just get more money and you get to go retire. It is insane.
That's like 2 golden parachutes, one on your back, one on your front.
That's like one golden parachute for your diamond encrusted horse that you're riding off into the sunset on.
Yeah. You don't pay taxes.
This doesn't mean that the state of California's investigations going away or anything like that. But like, how much teeth can it have if he's already on his way out? Like that was going to be kind of like the big thing that they were going to be able to hold over. Like maybe they could force something there. They're not going to be able to do much now. When you're that rich,
you can afford the fanciest lawyers possible, and it's like,
and I think if you're Microsoft, and I've been thinking a lot about Microsoft's like very deliberate good guy image, the thing they've been working on since the Xbox One days, since the late Xbox One days of like, oh, we really blew it, and trying to put it all back together again. And I wonder, and so I guess like to back up a little bit, no one has publicly said, hey, Bobby Kotick is out. In fact, they probably legally can't say that, but sources talking to the Wall Street Journal are saying that he's expected to leave at the close of the deal. That's, in contrast with like an IGN story that was like, no, he's going to continue on based on what a Microsoft spokesperson told us. But it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, of course they would say that because they kind of can't tamper with that company before they actually own it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And all that sort of stuff.
It's the kind of thing where you expect this to be the reason the deal happened. It almost certainly is the reason the deal happened. Now we just got to wait until June 2023 for this to all close and see how it's going to play out. And Microsoft's not going to be able to say anything really. They're going to have to go into like a silent period for this entire time, just like they did with Bethesda. Yeah, exactly. They're not going to be able to like make those sorts of the changes that I think a lot of people are calling for of like, hey, that guy's got to go. This will end up dragging out a lot longer than I think anyone will want when it comes to that guy. But at the same time, Activision ships one game a year, so it's you're not going to hear a lot about them the first half of this year anyway. Let's see.
Curious. I was curious what this might mean for the unionization efforts going on with Activision-Blizzard. With all this new developments going on, I have no clue.
The thing you hope is that this leads to a lot of the concerns being addressed, right? Like obviously, a lot of bad things have happened to that company over the years. Working there has not sounded like a good time for a variety of reasons. Right down to the people at Raven striking and the QA situation there. That across the board, there's been a lot of bullshit happening over there for a good long time. You can't just wave a wand and say like our corporate culture is fixed, but my understanding is that the corporate culture at Microsoft is better than Activision's. I guess I would say no one is perfect, right? But hopefully you get to a situation where like people that have things they need to report to HR are being heard and that things are being dealt with. And of course, the increased scrutiny of everything that's been happening and Activision probably leads to Microsoft being very diligent when it comes to responding to that stuff. Once their hands are on the wheel, that's going to be a while, right? And so the unionization efforts, like it probably also does not do that part any favors. So it's like that double-edged sword of like, well, things will probably get better for the people who were there, but if you were hoping to see unionization in video games, I don't think that this move gets us closer to that. It probably
kind of throws a monkey wrench in the
snuffs
momentum,
it out a little bit.
The momentum of what was going on, I think, is a little probably going to be offset by this in a way, because who knows how many people are going to be like, well, now, because when you make a union, I'm under the impression, I have not done it yet. Watch your ass, Red Venture. No, I'm kidding. But like not every, like it's hard to get people on board because it's just hard to organize in general. So I imagine that some people would just see this acquisition that work at Activision-Blizzard and just be like, well, now that we're in different hands, I'm assuaged. I bet it's going to get better. And I wonder if that's going to kind of divide and conquer unionization effort just a little bit and make them lose momentum. I don't really know. I don't know the inner workings of these things, but that's me totally spitballing, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a good summation of how that works. When any sort of hurdle is any sort of friction increases the likelihood that a unionization effort will fail. And this is definitely the kind of thing where people could say, wait and see. And there's always going to be a lot of people who are on the fence, and that's definitely going to happen here. But there's like someone mentioned in chat, like the strike regarding the people that were laid off from that QA department, that's still been going on. That's like entering week 7 and some stuff like that.
Wow.
You got one like, okay, are they going to stop like striking but before like Microsoft has a chance to rehire those people like a year and a half from now? Again, like it's just kind of still, it's going to continue to be messy, and real people are going to have to deal with real problems throughout this entire time, and there's not going to be any really great solution. And you can't say, well, wait for the Xbox to come in and take over, because that is so far away right now.
Yeah, the most I think you could hope for in that specific situation is like a very gentle back channel effort to say, hey, solve that problem before we come in and take over. Solve that fucking problem. And give these people what they want. and yeah, like make sure that they. And I that makes me wonder about the lawsuit sort of stuff. Is Microsoft going to keep up this like staunch fight against the state of California, or are they going to be like, yeah, no, you're right, we'll solve it.
Yeah.
What do you want us to do?
We didn't
to solve
acquire
it?
that part of Activision.
Yeah, or like, hey, we're already spending $69 billion. We set aside another one to handle all this lawsuit stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So let's handle it like that. Once you're spending that amount of money, like the brand conscious, like, again, good guy thing to do is probably to just take all that shit on the chin and be like, yep, we're going to fix it all. But you're right. There's been some bad stuff going on. So give that guy his millions, get him out of here. Here's the lawsuit. Like, let's take care of these people and try to steer things in the right direction from here on out. And maybe I don't know what their actual approach is. I just feel like when I think about the work they have put into rehabilitating the Xbox brand as something that is friendly to players and friendly to the industry, that to me lines up with that. That's what I would do, as they say. But
and Microsoft does have a lot of stuff in place right now that they can show and say, hey, once we are in charge, we have like a lot of processes to protect people, and we do take this stuff very seriously, and there is proof to that pudding. So I would imagine that you're right, that they would be able to try to pull that off.
Yeah. And that maybe they kind of meet in the middle and make that lawsuit go away by taking some amount of it on the chin.
Yeah, I wonder, like what Grubb was talking about, how like the deal still has a year and a half to close, right? So we're far out, and it makes me wonder: does this conversation fall in the ether, right? Like, does this, without some kind of back channel leak to I don't know, someone like a Jeff Grubb, like how does this information get out? How does that story move in the right direction and not just get swept up in the tornado that is corporate acquisition?
Yeah. Well, I think it's in Microsoft's best interest to very publicly solve that problem, right? And then, again, that's something that takes years to actually solve. Like, think about how many years we talked about Blizzard's culture and how a lot of the longtime Blizzard people, I mean, sounding lately to the detriment of a lot of people who were there, but with how protective they were of Blizzard's culture and trying to keep Activision out, and how it took years before Call of Duty was suddenly available even on BattleNet because Blizzard was like, get that shit away from us. Like, it took years for the Activision corporate culture to come in and slime up a lot of Blizzard. So how long will it take Microsoft to get in and unfuck these situations? Assuming that that's what they intend to do. Years. That's not something you do by the close of the deal. That's something you can only really even start on in a legal, proper way once the deal closes. And it just takes so long to, like, acquisitions slow everything so down. Like, remember when we got acquired and fucking it was just like, all right, let's just sit here and wait for everyone to figure everything the fuck out. And in some cases they still fucking haven't. So it's just, that stuff just takes forever.
Are you saying consolidation doesn't solve anything?
What?
I think that's exactly what I'm saying.
Is that the takeaway? Look, you're probably right, Grubb. I want to ask you like specific stuff because you've been tweeting this morning, and I feel like you've got a lot of thoughts on like what the how the rippling is going to shake out. There's so many questions to be asked about exclusivity of software. There's so much to be asked about like what other companies are going to be doing in response to something like this. It's an earth-shattering announcement. There's no other way to look at it, right? Like, good or bad, the ramifications are tremendous. So like, I don't know, what does Sony and Nintendo do now?
Yeah, and that question, Nintendo's going to just keep being Nintendo. They will probably continue to hear overtures from Microsoft about the delights of having Game Pass on the Switch one day, and they'll continue taking those phone calls. Nintendo has no problem doing that. Probably still not likely to happen anytime soon. I do think that I think the point of this, like, Microsoft's strategic goals with this is to grow Game Pass, and it's to make Game Pass more appealing to corporate partners like Sony, and to get Game Pass on PlayStation one day. Still not going to happen anytime soon, but it's the kind of thing where like this definitely moves that goal a lot closer. So I think they will do everything they can to serve those two strategic goals. If you're Sony, I think you need to like be looking around and saying, do we want to keep fighting that fight against them? or do we like figure out right now how we sort of rope them in and make them a partner and figure out a way to continue to coexist side by side with them in a way that brings Game Pass actually onto PlayStation, and whether or not that's going to happen 2024, 2025, whenever, who knows. But it does seem more inevitable today than it did yesterday, for sure. And making Call of Duty is a big, like, exclusive would be a big part of that. Now, again, we don't know if that's going to happen. That's going to be the thing that, like, once the excitement of this deal fades into the background, the thing that people are going to ask over and over is, like, what games are going to be exclusive, what games aren't going to end up on PlayStation anymore. And we're probably not going to get a definitive answer for that for quite some time. But I think there's a likelihood that not Warzone. Warzone will continue to be its own thing that is free to play everywhere. But
do you think that Warzone gets a PlayStation 5 version of the client? Because they still haven't done that work.
I think so. I think so. I think they're going to treat that like they treated Minecraft and everything else. And I think they continue supporting that and making sure that it gets its full, and like the next free to play Call of Duty, whatever that is, if it's something other than Warzone, would have the same thing happen to it. But I think that the annual releases of Call of Duty, and whether or not that changes or not, the annual release, I don't know. But I think those games might end up exclusive. And the reason for that is they've looked at the numbers with Bethesda and they figured out it is worth it to us to give up that PlayStation money, because it advances our true strategic goals, which is not necessarily to make the most profits from these things. It is to get in the most households with Game Pass and to make Game Pass as appealing as possible. So it seems like this is like the way it's moving. And if you're Sony, how do you fight against that? I don't know. Like, I think they will make probably some big acquisitions. Capital is still cheap. They could borrow a lot of money really at a very low interest rates right now, and they could spend $12 to $20 billion on something if they really wanted to. But who out there could they get, like, for that amount of money? Like, there is Square Enix, a few other ones, maybe Capcom. Capcom would probably be the biggest one, just because of Monster Hunter and a few other things. Resident Evil would be pretty big, but I don't know. It's a really tough. And then at that point, you're like, Microsoft could still go out and make another acquisition. They have enough money to do that. I don't know if they want to be in that Cold War. It doesn't make a lot of sense. So I think they need to reassess right now and figure out their strategy going forward.
It's the thing that's missing from the Microsoft portfolio that I think, has been rumored time and time again, is like the acquisition of a large Japanese developer. Like, if you think about it, like, picking up Activision makes a lot of sense for a lot of reasons, but it does not change their story in Japan. For whatever that's worth, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like, they definitely care about it, but how much? Like, there's still growth to be had elsewhere that they don't necessarily have to put a main focus on it. But, there is still, do you make that deal with a Konami and finally just say, like, fucking sell us your IPs? Like, let's set this a free.
You don't buy Konami, right? You just buy the IPs.
No, of course not. Yeah. You don't. There's nothing of value in, like Microsoft Health Clubs. Like, forget it. But yeah, like, do you do that deal? But yeah, Capcom's a great example of, like, a company that if it not for Monster Hunter, probably this would have happened by now.
Yes, would have happened by now. I agree. Yeah.
And Sega has certainly come up time and time again for decades as an acquisition target. So yeah, but I like, for me, it's like, does Sony is Sony, right? And I think at some level Sony will assess the situation. But I think Sony is very keen on doing things the way Sony does them. And I just don't see that. Like you're right. Maybe Game Pass ends up on Sony platforms eventually, but this isn't like a near term, like, oh, we got to do something. This is like we're going to double down on, and we're going to acquire another Japanese developer and keep doing things the way that we do them. And
there's maybe someone will ring the alarm bell right now, right? Like, Sony's PlayStation 5 is going to keep selling. Their games are going to keep selling. They're worried about, like, future growth and competing with Microsoft turning into a behemoth. But that's still going to be a slow process. They have time to figure out what their future looks like while continuing to succeed today, which they are.
It is extremely easy to look at, even, you look at the sales charts for last year where, like Vanguard and Black Ops Cold War were like the #1 and #3 best selling PlayStation games in the US.
That's right.
And you go like, okay, that's a huge hit. But if you're Sony, you look at it and go like, this is an opportunity to partner up with EA to keep their shooters on our platform in a take the co-marketing money we're spending on Call of Duty, spend it over there. This is an opportunity, like, out of this, someone puts together a pitch deck that says Killzone reboot and puts it in front of Jim Ryan and goes, come on. And maybe they go down that road if they think that they have a gap in the shooter genre. But at the end of the day, Microsoft's been earning money off of shooters since their inception. It's been their bread and butter. Like Call of Duty, even with Sony making those deals for co-marketing and all that other stuff, like it has done quite well on the Xbox. In spite of all that, it doesn't matter like who is co-marketing Call of Duty. And it's very easy, I think, internally, if you're Sony, to look at Call of Duty and go like, we think this thing's peaked. And even if that's not necessarily true, I think it would be very easy to convince yourself of just like, that's fine. We don't have to care about that much. And maybe we just kind of stay the course and keep doing what we're doing.
That is what Xbox did with the co-marketing money when Xbox was the co-marketer, right? They convinced themselves that it had peaked and were like, we've sort of associated ourselves with Call of Duty brand as much as we can, and we can let Sony have that for a while. And that sort of worked because people still associated Call of Duty with Xbox even after those marketing deals in many cases. I don't know. The Sony Nintendo sort of like sitting back and watching this happen, that stuff is going to be it's going to take a long time for them to sort of figure out if they need to respond, what that's going to turn into. Other companies as well. I'm like more interested, like what does this mean for like what Microsoft's going to look like? What happens with all these IPs and stuff? Like, do they immediately start working on a Crash Bandicoot game? Because that would be crazy. Like, what's going to happen here? I don't know.
Yeah, I think curating the IPs totally. Yeah, what does this does this mean you're getting Game Pass perks in World of Warcraft? Like probably, right? Does this mean that you get a World of Warcraft like version of a World of Warcraft subscription with PC Game Pass, if not a full sub? Maybe.
Yeah, with Game Pass Ultimate, I think probably pretty quickly that happens. Yeah,
sure.
After the deal closes.
And here's my pitch. So I think they own Sierra now, right?
Through Vivendi, all that. Yeah,
Sierra.
that's still still them.
My pitch: Phantasmagoria 3. Bring it back. Make it the new Silent Hill. Bam. There you go.
What a self-serving wish list.
This means that Microsoft owns Geometry Wars finally. Like this means that they could right that wrong. I feel like the Activision Geometry Wars games were not good, and they should solve that problem. I think. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking. Video Games Chronicle has a partial list. I'm looking at this. They're saying that this is a list of every Activision-Blizzard IP that Xbox will own, and then this is like, I don't know, there's a ton of games that are not on this list, but there's a lot here. And when you think about, I mean, like when you take a step back from this, and like obviously like Activision, you just think of them now as like, okay, they own Blizzard, and that's kind of its own separate thing. But like Activision is just the Call of Duty people. They've let themselves become that over the last 5-10 years, at the expense of every other IP that they fucking controlled. But like for a Microsoft, there is a ton of great reasons, especially with Game Pass, and some of that stuff, to get back into some of these other businesses. Like there is no reason not to make a sequel to Gun.
Couple reasons, maybe.
This would be a good time. This would be a good time, I think, to think about Tony Hawk again.
Oh God, yeah.
And potentially take another run at that. I think that like when you think about Game Pass and what that can be and what that can do to, give a game a budget and the expectations of those games, like I think Tony Hawk is the perfect tier of game that you put out. You're not out there expecting it to be some massive mover, or anything like that, but like that's a great kind of like B tier franchise that you roll out. I mean, you could do that as a platform as you look. Oh, here's my pit. No. But there's just a ton of stuff going all the way back to fucking Pitfall. I mean, it's also kind of it's easy to forget that like Activision was the first third party developer. Yep. Like they on the 2600, Venetian Blinds is now owned by Microsoft. Half the stuff that was in fucking Game Room, Microsoft now owns.
They bought the Game Room.
They bought the fucking Game Room.
This is all about.
Bring out Windows Phones, put Game Room back on Windows Phones. This is the whole play, right? I mean, but there's just so much history here that they can now play around with. Whether it is, some of that Sierra stuff, whether it's whatever is the, event. Does this, I forget if this ever got unfucked, but No One Lives Forever was something that was caught up in some kind of weird IP limbo.
Right.
I don't remember if it ended up being Vivendi that owned it, because the story was just like no one was sure who owned it because they didn't want to go look through all the paperwork.
I bet that's still fucked in some ways, but
yeah,
maybe this like unties it enough that maybe someone starts pulling on those threads again.
Yeah, or also like I think Microsoft is a little more interested in pulling on those threads. Right. I think they've got enough different studios doing enough different things that you're like, okay, maybe we could find a reason to do this if only for Game Pass, and maybe that still makes sense.
And I think that's actually like the underlying story here. Like a lot of people are rightfully worried about consolidation in entertainment, and I get that. But we were witnessing the alternative for years with Activision. Activision was not acquired; they were operating as an independent, publicly traded company. And what were they doing? Not taking advantage of all these old games, not like capitalizing on these IPs. They were just making more and more Call of Duty, and not even making more, just sort of focusing in on a few Call of Duty properties, and that was it. And every studio that was working on something else, they working on Tony Hawk, Spyro, Crash games. Yeah. They tried all that stuff, and then they all ended up going back to Call of Duty. That was the alternative that exists in this marketplace right now. And so I think that having all those IPs, having all those people working in an environment where the incentive structure is, hey, we could put something out on Game Pass, and if it reaches a certain audience on there, it's a success, and you don't have to worry about selling it as a $60 product. It's additive to the subscription. That's going to like open up a lot of people's eyes to the possibility of like making many of these games again. And Microsoft's going to be happy to have like Diablo 4 launching on there day one. Obviously, that'll be a huge thing for them. They'll be very happy about that. But then having stuff like Spyro coming in and appealing to families, and that's going to be big for them as well. So I think we're going to get a lot of these games coming back pretty quickly once Microsoft's fully in charge.
I think that's my hope, is that, and it's the impression I get when you talk to them, is just that they seem to give a shit about the legacy of video games, and some of that I think is sometimes comes off as lip service, but
yeah, I mean they're capitalizing on something that they know that can make them money, absolutely.
Yes.
But
it's like, not for the sake of it, of course,
right? But it's like we're in a transactional business model anyhow. They make stuff, I give them money. Okay, that's that. They don't have to really feel good about it as long as I'm getting new games. That's kind of what I want here. So yeah, I'm excited about it from that perspective.
I think that they have the potential to be better stewards of this IP catalog than Activision was ever going to be. Unless the wheels completely fell off of Call of Duty and they had to scramble to find something. But fuck, man, like, I don't know if you remember. So when Black Ops Cold War came out, they started patching in Atari 2600 games to it that you could play in like the weird theater mode or something. And like Pitfall is in there and it's broken. Like the scorpion on the bottom layer would just like teleport around, and you just look at it and go like,
is that what you're getting at? They'll just fix that.
They'll fix someone. Yes. Now they'll have the incentive to but like it was just to me it was like this perfect example of like, yeah, we're gonna half-assedly honor the legacy of this company with a fucked up broken version of one of its most iconic fucking properties, and it was like, yep, there it is. You've buried it in a side menu in Call of Duty and it's not even emulated properly. Nice going. And the hope is that Microsoft pays a little more attention to detail and cares a lot more about this.
And they have the incentive to do so. So it's like we can have some hope there. Exactly.
Grubb, I know you're you moonlight as an antitrust attorney.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious. I know obviously you can only speak to this as much as we can, more conversationally than anything else. But like, I don't know, how is this legal? Like, when do we get to the point?
Be my question.
When do we get to the point where it's like, you know what? No, like it's not done. This isn't a done deal, right? Like
too big, too much, too monopolized. What's the line?
I mean, those regulations have been de-teethed like pretty regularly over the last couple of decades. Totally. Also, like Microsoft could argue there is some vertical integration stuff happening here where they make hardware, so they don't necessarily compete with the company that makes games, although of course they do make games. That would still be an argument I think they would try to make, but the biggest argument they would make is there are still massive corporations out there that are competing, and they're getting bigger and bigger, and they're like, look at Take-Two, they're buying Zynga now they're the bigger than ever, and it's like they're going to be able to point to all these other things that are still compete, and that argument has won repeatedly in court.
Totally. It's not.
So should it be? I mean, obviously these things should be scrutinized more than they have been, and I think honestly, I think there was just a news story today that the Biden administration actually is like rejuvenating the enforcers that actually do look at these things. They're going to look at mergers closer than ever, and that stuff was just announced today. So maybe this won't go through, but I think most lawyers that I've seen talking about this, and my basic understanding of this is not the thing that would trigger the antitrust sort of scrutiny of something like when T-Mobile and Sprint were coming together, and it was going to go from like 4 companies to 3. They could say there's millions of companies that make video games. So look at all these independent companies.
Oh boy.
Yeah, exactly. So their lawyers would probably be able to get them out of it no matter what. So
I think the only point that you would look at that would go like, oh, here's like a very direct example of competition is BattleNet. And if BattleNet goes away because it all ends up on the Xbox store, which, you know, I would think would be the move there, then that's a case of a retail storefront going away. But even then, there's so many. They put these games on Steam, like they're out there on a lot of different platforms selling this stuff anyway. So I don't think that triggers anything either.
Right, and I think being BattleNet, and it has millions of people logging in just for World of Warcraft still. So I think they probably will find a way to keep it around. But yeah, you're right. They could also point to something like Steam and say, like, we put our stuff out on a competing platform that is on the operating system that we own. This is a healthy ecosystem. I think for the most part, we all know that's not exactly what a healthy ecosystem looks like, just like we can kind of feel in our gut. But being able to go in there and prove that in court, if you're like a regulator, is really, really tough. So I would say right now, it's definitely going to go through. Like, it's going to go through.
Yeah, they wouldn't have gotten to this point if they were feeling wishy-washy about it. Like they have to have done that research, I think, by now. Unless they get kind of handed a curveball. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. They're being a little bit ambiguous about the exclusivity. We touched on a little bit earlier. The quote from Spencer that Bloomberg has here is, "I'll just say to players out there who are playing Activision-Blizzard games on Sony's platform, it's not our intent to pull communities away from that platform, and we remain committed to that." Which to me sounds a lot like we also don't intend to build new communities on that platform either.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like a lot like the Bethesda quotes right after.
Yes.
Right.
Which I think people read as ambiguous.
Call of Duty Vanguard, right? Yeah. But you're not going to pull that one away. But it's the next Call of Duty. And of course they haven't fully decided this stuff yet. I'm sure they've like looked at the numbers in the same way they eventually looked at it with Bethesda. But they are going to keep an open mind a little bit, which is one thing. Like, people say, oh, you don't spend $7 billion on Bethesda to then put those games on other platforms. And they did look at possibly doing that. I've seen like the internal research at Microsoft where they compared every possible scenario. And they ended up deciding that the scenario where they kept everything exclusive, even though it was going to lose them $500 million over the next 5 years or something like that. They're like, that is the cost of doing business, and the cost of growing Game Pass, and the cost of like attracting people to our platform and our ecosystem. I think they will likely make the same decision here. Call of Duty is a slightly different beast. It has a lot of microtransactions. That makes it a little bit more like, if Fallout 76 was some huge success, like obviously that would have been like a different calculus as well. But with Call of Duty, it's slightly different. But I still think in the end they're going to go with the exclusivity.
I agree. I think it just makes too much sense. And that keeps the game on PC as well. Like, it really does end up just pulling it off of the PlayStation at the end of the day.
Well, as long as they don't have Game Pass, right? And then they could go back and say, hey, it is wherever Game Pass is. And that begins to build up the pressure of saying, why, like, even if they only let first party Microsoft games into Game Pass on the PlayStation, I think that's the route. Like, okay, you can't have your third party games. Like, we'll handle those relationships. But if you just want to put first party like Microsoft Xbox games into Game Pass and have that on PlayStation and be in your subscription, something like an EA Play, yeah, you can do that. And with Call of Duty, at that point, they have enough stuff that would justify that and make it make sense. I think that is like the argument they are trying to make in the public and behind the scenes, and trying to convince Jim Ryan to say, let's do this.
What does this change in terms of like Sony's plans for their Game Pass equivalent? Like Spartacus, right? It was called. Like, do they walk that back and want to do like day one stuff all of a sudden, or
they're going to look at their own? They're not going to respond to outside stimuli to make those decisions. They look at their own books, they look at their own spreadsheets, and make their decisions based on that. Those games they make are too expensive to put day one onto a service like that. They spend $200 million in that range, on an average almost, for the many of their biggest games. And those games then sell like between 5 to 15 million copies. They need every single one of those copies to sell. I mean, other than like Spider-Man, which is proven to have legs, Miles Morales just continues to sell.
At least 8 of them.
Yes. Wonderful, Jan. And then but so they can't like divert that train right now. They got to stick to what's going to work for them and their business model. And I think that's the right choice. Sony does not need to try to go be like, we need to be Microsoft. They just need to be more Sony to figure out what this is and be kind of separate. And their fans want that too. Like if you see the way their fans react, they're always like, whatever Microsoft is doing, don't do that. Do something else. And so when Sony does something else, those fans respond like by buying that stuff. So I would expect them not to necessarily try to echo anything that we're seeing here.
I see.
Yeah. I think like Sony's just too invested in that kind of prestige single player experience thing.
It works.
It does work. Sometimes I forget that it does work for them because it's just like increasingly finding myself like because when they put out those limited number of games, you got to make sure that you like every single one of them, or you're like, man, this whole platform is just like third party stuff that is available everywhere else, and their differentiators are increasingly kind of narrow at times, but
and they're going to feel that threat because they cannot like they'll feel this because if you are someone who only shows up for those first party games, you're not worth all that much to PlayStation. You are, they make most of their money from you being in their services and showing up for subscriptions and spending money on microtransactions and stuff like Apex Legends and Fortnite and stuff. That's they need you doing everything. If you treat your PlayStation 5 like an exclusive box, that's a failure. It is not enough for them. So they will feel this, and but so far they've been succeeding. So there's no reason to think tomorrow it's all going to fall apart. They'll be able to respond and come up with something that is a Sony solution to this problem they're facing now, and it'll probably be fine.
Speaking of, I guess like now that that diagram gets a little bit more consolidated with all these publishers. You tweeted out like, "Hey, what do you think? Ubisoft and EA are thinking right now." What are they?
I can say that right now. That internally they're thinking, "What the hell?" Like they did not. No one had any idea this was going to happen. The big response was. Everyone's sort of digesting this and doesn't know what to think. And there's some like internally, there's people like you beginning to have conversations about what this means, but mostly they're just sort of in shock. And this is true even of course, people at Activision and Blizzard. No one knew Activision or Blizzard as well. And if you kind of like, of course they didn't, because the way the stock price went right up, no one could know about this. Everyone had to keep this quiet to avoid insider trading problems and stuff like that. So, but yeah. Everyone right now is just sort of stunned and going to take a while to figure out what this means for them. Like we've begun that conversation. Like they've only just begun to have those conversations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something. Yeah, like you said, everybody's talking to everybody all the time, and it's definitely a time of consolidation. I don't think that even with everything crazy that has happened over the last 12, 18 months or whatever in games, I don't know that I would have ever expected anything this large. When you think about those acquisition targets, you think about the like I said, the Capcoms of the world, like the they're big
CD
publishers, but they're not.
CD Projekt Red
CD Projekt Red,
maybe
definitely. Remedy, like someone picks up a Remedy.
If someone
would
have sent me this in on Signal or DM, I would have ignored it. I would not have believed it.
Would you have believed like buying an EA sooner though, or does EA like hover like too
somehow
big?
Yes, a little bit, but not but not even then I wouldn't have believed it. But sooner I would have believed EA for some reason. But I guess the confluence of events that happened here that did lead to this, like Bobby Kotick and the investigation and the stock price taking a dip and the leadership not like wanting to change, and so now they're having trouble attracting talent. There's so many problems at Activision, and like fewer games are succeeding, and they're all relying on this one brand, and then Blizzard's delaying all their games. There's so much stuff. It seems obvious now, but kind of like when I was looking at it before, it's like, oh yeah, like Microsoft will want the sports games. That's the kind of thing that can move Game Pass, but I wouldn't have expected EA either. Like this is still just really shocking.
Grubb, you've been awake for 5 hours or so. Now that you've had the news sort of simmer and digest a little bit, what to you is the sort of thing that's percolating in the back of your mind that you feel like we have not yet kind of unpacked? Obviously, like I said, the blast radius is really close.
Right, there's so
right
much
now.
Yeah.
Is there something that you're thinking about that we've not sort of circulated here just yet?
I mean, we brought it up a little bit, but like I do wonder like how they approach Battle.net and obviously like World of Warcraft. I think that's $68-69 billion is like nice. It's a lot of money, but yeah, nice. But it's the kind of thing where if if they can maintain a relatively strong subscription base to World of Warcraft for the next couple of years, it's going to end up paying for itself pretty quickly. Like, that's kind of all they need, and then everything else, and then Call of Duty Warzone as well. Like on top of that, like, but I want to know, like, how do they approach Battle.net? They got Battle.net, they have Bethesda's launcher, they have the Windows Store, and they put their games out on Steam. How do they all these different PC communities, they want to bring them all under one thing and have say kind of, hey, be in Game Pass, but they also don't want to alienate any of them, which is why they started putting their games back on Steam in the first place. So I'm like very curious to figure out how they like approach having all these different PC launchers, and like, do they begin putting more Microsoft games on Battle.net, or do they just let Battle.net be a Blizzard thing and let it slowly like die a natural death over the next like 15 years or something like that? But that's just like the thing that occurred to me most recently, because I forgot, like, oh yeah, they own Battle.net now. There's going to be a million other things that are like, there's so many facets to this. I don't know, just the idea of like Mike Ibarra going from Microsoft to World of Warcraft, and then taking over Blizzard, and now he's back at Microsoft because they just bought him. There's like so many aspects to this of like where you can do a story a day on this for the next month and still not cover everything. So there's a lot to it, but yeah, I don't know. I wonder what's gonna happen with Battle.net. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I think if you think about the talk a while back about Discord and maybe Microsoft getting into the Discord business in a major way, like maybe you take that Battle.net crew and have them overhaul a lot of the social services on the Xbox stuff, especially on the PC side of things. Like on the Xbox, I think that stuff's pretty well worn and relatively tested and all that sort of stuff. But on the PC, the communication experience, the way the Xbox services live in Windows 10 and 11 kind of sucks still. Mm-hmm. So there's probably a big opportunity there to overhaul that stuff, and maybe that gives you a little bit more firepower to do it. And then maybe you eventually get to a point where you integrate those communities at the expense of like the gigantic name collisions over like, oh, your Battle.net name is now your Xbox Live name, and oh wait, it's taken, and like all that sort of stuff. Like that's where it gets super, super hairy. But you could probably do it. I mean, they did overhaul the Xbox Live naming scheme to be exactly like Battle.net's in terms of like everyone can have the same name. You'll just get 4-digit thing after your thing. So there's room for it there.
The only other side of this is like just kind of thinking about what the next couple of years look like for Microsoft, where I wrote a story about how Microsoft just kind of has to get to E3 this year, or E3 time, whatever E3 turns into this year, Summer Game Fest, Summer Game Mess.
There you go.
They need to get to that time, because once they get there, they can announce all the stuff that they have already announced before and show off. Hey, Perfect Dark, here's Avowed, here's Fable, here's a million other things. But up until then, they don't have much. But now they got this huge news story. They can easily skate on this until E3. Like, people will be talking about this for weeks and weeks. And anytime someone brings up like, oh, hey, like, is Redfall going to get delayed until later? Like, yeah, but I mean, look at all the stuff they got coming. That really helps with them sort of get through this year, because they're not going to have a ton of games this year. They are still going to have Starfield, Forza Motorsport 8 should come out this year, and Redfall, Stalker 2, which is kind of like in that weird zone of like being like a 3-month exclusive or whatever, already got delayed. They're not going to have a ton. And if like Redfall gets delayed again, or if it does get delayed and then delayed again out of this year or something like that, which we know nothing about that game, that's possible. They could have a really light year, but they really like announcing things like this because it really helps them build this momentum of the brand. And then hopefully by 2023 should be the year where they are dropping a game a quarter easily. It's going to probably end up feeling more like a game every 2 months. So they just need to kind of get to that time. And this sort of news really helps them like bridge over this gap of not having a lot this year. Going from Halo and Forza last year to kind of having to wait till Starfield. With something like this, they can bridge that gap.
Yeah. Let me ask you, just from if you want to wrap it up after this, that's cool. We can move on. But I guess, and this is very open-ended and more of a discussion starter than anything else, but obviously the discourse today has sort of been like, it's a great day for gamers, right? Like, no matter where you go. And a part of me can't digest that without scoffing just a little bit. Do we win here? I mean, I know that's a real maybe sort of question that is going to take a long time to answer, but let's like unpack that a little bit.
I think it ends up being, I think it accelerates that conversation as to when do we hit that weird tipping point on Game Pass where suddenly it's bad for the industry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know,
And that's what that's the tripling and quadrupling down. Like that is what this is. It's always been about Game Pass.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's always been about
I think we have to like examine like our sort of relationship in that ecosystem, in that model, because it's like Game Pass only can take over if it's what people want. Like it's what happened like Netflix. People try to say like, oh, the reason we don't get certain movies in the theaters anymore is because all we get is Marvel movies. And it's like, no, it's because old people decided it was easier to stay at home and watch movies there, and they were showing up on Netflix, and they just prefer that. And so that's why the Netflix model took over. We have to sort of stop buying games and only go on Game Pass for Game Pass to sort of take over in that way, but it could be appealing enough to do exactly that. And if it is, then it sort of gets to dictate the terms of how we get games in the future, and that is where it could break bad and everything could fall apart. And also they could, raise prices at that point, all that stuff. This is a lot of potentials and things that might not happen, it might not go that certain way, but they could. And you're right. I think this accelerates the timeline on which we are going in that direction. The real thing is, it like a great day for gamers? I haven't seen a ton of that, but I mean, I might just be following different people. I've seen a lot of people who are like, I am worried about consolidation.
Sure.
I think what is our relationship to these companies? If they make games, I'll buy them. Is kind of where I want to keep them at, like keeping them at arm's length. If you were sort of treating it like that, I think it is a little bit good, because I think we'll get more good games out of the 10,000 people that work at Activision. And to me, that's a good thing. But beyond that, I don't need much else from this company that I'm buying games from other than for them to make games. Is it going to like turn into something sort of a mutant version of the industry that is terrible for everything? That is still possible, but it was already kind of a terrible mutant. Like the way like the AAA industry has gone, it was unsustainable. It was bad. There was going to be a year where Activision missed a Call of Duty. Something was going to go bad enough that they missed releasing a Call of Duty, and they would have just imploded, and it would have been really bad. So it's like, we don't want to be on the precipice of a huge company failing all the time. Let's put them in something that maybe is more sustainable. And looking at it from like, putting my finger in there, it feels like Game Pass is slightly more sustainable right now. But long term, who knows?
Yeah, it doesn't take much for like, oh, hey, turns out we have so many big games on Game Pass now that like the relationship with indie developers is changing, because like, oh, those games just aren't getting the hours, right, the users that they used to. So suddenly we're not funding those anymore, but people only play games that are on Game Pass. So where do those devs go for funding? Like there's a lot of weird outcomes that I think can happen as Game Pass kind of continues to grow, as it relates specifically to smaller studios, the types of games they make. If they have to optimize around, monthly active users and all this other stuff, and then what the types of games they might make if they are going in that direction, like, does that stuff change? I think that stuff gets a little weird. I think like overall industry health, like this is the same thing that I've been saying, is I think that these acquisitions lead to, you have some people that are maybe making some money along the way, and then those are the people that are going to go out and try to start the next studio. Those are when studios get acquired. This is a bit different since it's a gigantic publisher. But when you have a company like Respawn that gets acquired, and then the people that got some of the payoff from that EA, and they're like, well, we're going to go start a new studio over here, and then we're going to hire people, or the implosion from Blizzard. In some ways, like the exodus out of Activision and Blizzard, I mean, how many studios have already been started from people getting the fuck out of there, that Tencent is now funding. And so you end up in that situation where like, oh, like there's the other side of consolidation is that kind of boom of people that have found money or found investment or whatever, that are out there starting new studios and making new games and new experiences. And so I think that cycle overall is healthy, even if it's going to be bumpy for a while. I mean, don't forget, there's 10,000 employees there now, but like how many, there's a lot of people in publishing roles and, administrative roles and all that sort of stuff that like Microsoft probably already has a pretty decent handle on. So there will almost certainly be some reductions.
And I would expect I would expect that to happen, even though they will. And this is like a key thing with all these acquisitions from Microsoft, is they will try to keep the Activision and Blizzard brands separate. Like when you go on Disney Plus, you see Star Wars and you see MCU and you see National Geographic or whatever. They try to keep those things like separate, even though it's like all one subscription, because they want you to feel good about how, like, oh, I'm getting a really good deal. I pay this one fee and I get things from all these different companies. They did that with Bethesda, and they let Bethesda sort of operate as Bethesda. Activision is maybe too big to let it continue to be its new thing. So you're right, there will be quite a bit of redundancy, I think, there.
And I think you end up in a situation where like you treat those brands differently. Like you
Absolutely.
stop talking about Activision-Blizzard almost immediately, and you start talking a lot about these are the new games from Blizzard.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You know, maybe you even I'm trying to think like how this works. Like, okay, so maybe you take the Call of Duty affiliated studios, which is almost all of them, and that's Activision. Who makes Call of Duty? Activision. It's not Treyarch, it's not Infinity Ward, it's not Sledgehammer. It's just like, hey, some form of these 3 studios, 8 studios, whatever, are working on this year's Call of Duty, and that's the thing. And then maybe a Toys for Bob just becomes Toys for Bob, and you don't think of them as Activision per se because they're off making Spyro, and you're like, oh, here's the next game from Toys for Bob. You know, Microsoft's Toys for Bob. And so that you could see some studios kind of crawl out from under the Activision umbrella that way, depending on what they're doing with those IPs and all the other stuff. Like if you, for example, if you were to start getting back into the Tony Hawk business, I would just say, hey, Neversoft, a Microsoft studio, is making Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
And be done with it.
There's talent there that would be like ready to probably just jump on that and say, yeah, we'll be Neversoft. Yeah, we have a legacy with that. They would totally do that.
We'll give you an eyeball.
Yeah.
We've got the eyeball. Spare.
Give them Bam Margera's likeness and then set them free.
Oh, boy.
It is crazy, right? You talk about Netflix. Like Netflix 4K has quietly creeped up to $20 a month.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And
this it'll happen with this eventually. They're not going to raise the price probably anytime in the next year or so. They just announced as part of this, I guess, I missed it, but Mike was telling me, Mike Minotti over at GameSpot was telling me, they announced that Game Pass has hit 25 million subscribers.
Million. Yeah.
So it's like they are getting there, but like they're going to want to get a little bit higher before they start raising the price. They are still happily in loss leader mode. They're they're spending $68 billion. Obviously, they're willing to spend money to make money later.
Sure.
And this is like where, like, I've talked on Grubb Snacks before about like, is this whole thing worth it? Like, how could this possibly be making money for Microsoft? And they got to spend a lot of money now to stop someone else from taking over the space. It'll be worth at that point. They would just have to acquire that company. Is how Microsoft looks at it. Like, so like, oh, we are happily. Yes, it's a preemptive move, and that makes a lot of these things sort of make sense. When spending $68 billion now means you don't have to spend $90 billion on some company down the road, and you get to grow that stuff yourself. So it makes sense in a kind of really perverted way of the way capitalism works, but that's just how it works in this situation. So yeah.
I think there's also maybe one last thing here before we move on. Spencer is now billed as the CEO of Microsoft Gaming, which I wonder if you could take any cues as to how they'll organize after the fact, as he's no longer head of Xbox. Does that mean Bethesda never really fully integrates into the Xbox brand or the Xbox list of studios, and maybe Activision ends up in the same boat where they're treated as a separate thing with a separate CEO?
I think so. I think that's the way it works.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. All right, big news, crazy news. I can't believe Van Halen, the band, is now owned by Microsoft. I think that's how that works, right?
Yeah, it's just like when you buy the NFT of the Dune thing, the Dune script from a movie that wasn't made.
Yeah, if you bought the rights to Guitar Hero Van Halen, I think Phil Spencer is now in Van Halen.
Yeah,
that's right. Yep,
they're playing tonight. Son of a bitch.
Great. All right. Well, Jamie's crying, and we'll take a break and come back with a lot of other news. It's kind of it was already like there's kind of a lot of news this week, and then this happened.
It's only Tuesday. How do we have this much news? It's Tuesday.
It's only the third week of January of this year.
Yeah. So we'll take a break. We'll come back, talk about that. New year, new you, right? That's what they say. All right. Well, hey, listen. If you are looking to maybe take your mental health a little bit more seriously, that's the thing. You can do that. There are a lot of people struggling right now and not feeling like their normal selves. And therapy can help. What is therapy? What is it? Well, it can kind of be whatever you want it to be. You can privately talk to someone if you feel like you're not dealing well with stress, or if you're having relationship issues, whatever you need. It's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It can be more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about and see if it's for you. Because you're your greatest asset, right? Yeah. This podcast is sponsored in part by BetterHelp, and Giant Bombcast listeners can get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/bombcast. That's betterhelp.com/bombcast. Does it make sense that the same company who controls half of online retail also passively eavesdrops on your private conversations at home? What about the idea that a single company controls 90% of internet searches, runs your email service, and gets to track everything you do on your smartphone? Big tech is more powerful than most countries are, and they profit by exploiting your personal data. It's time to put a layer of protection between your online activity and these tech juggernauts. And that's why there's ExpressVPN. Think about how much of your life is on the internet. Sadly, every site you visit, video you watch, message you send can be tracked and data mined. ExpressVPN can hide your IP address, which is something that big tech can use to personally identify you. So ExpressVPN makes your activity harder to trace and sell to advertisers. It also encrypts 100% of your internet data to keep you safe from hackers and eavesdroppers on your network. You don't want people out there eavesdropping on what you're doing, whatever you may be doing. And ExpressVPN can do this without slowing down your connection, and that's why it's rated the #1 VPN service by Mashable and Tech Radar. It's easy to use. You download the app on your computer, tap one button, and you are protected. So stop handing over your personal data to the big tech monopoly that mines your activity and sells your information. Protect yourself with a VPN that can keep you safe online. Visit expressvpn.com/bomb. That's expressvpn.com/bomb to get an extra 3 months for free. Go to expressvpn.com/bomb right now to learn more. We're back again, joined by special guest Grubb Snacks' own Jeff Grubb. Let's continue on with the news. What else is going on? Hitman 3 Year 2, or Hitman Trilogy, got announced. I'm excited about this as someone who did not see the PlayStation VR stuff firsthand. This will mean that that stuff's going to come to Steam. Also, the game's coming to Steam. Like, I don't know if you remember last year, it was a short-lived thing because people just bought it and kind of dealt with it and moved on, but buying Hitman is a gigantic pain in the ass.
Really?
Yes.
Like
all of the, because they have put out these
more days.
Yeah, for a couple more days here. They have put out 3 games, and each game includes the content of the game before it. As is when Hitman 2 came out, you could play all the Hitman 1 levels in it if you owned them, but like each one has been published by someone different, and so Warner Brothers was injected into the middle of all this. So when Hitman 3 came out and was an Epic exclusive, IO Interactive had to gin up a way to go like, okay, we need to know if you own this, but you can't own it on this platform, and we can put Hitman 1 on this platform, but we can't put Hitman 2 on here because Warner Brothers owns that publishing right. Okay, so we can't give you all this stuff for free. So we're going to rig up a thing that says it's going to look and see if you own it on Steam, and then we're going to tie it to this and do that. Even on consoles, it was kind of funky for similar reasons, but like the Steam to Epic stuff at launch sucked.
Yeah, and it was an awkward lasagna.
So much of the game, right? Like it improved everything. So it's like you wanted to have all that content in there
before you even started. Like you were like, oh well, I need this progress to come in, or else like why am I even playing? Because it's going to erase all my existing progress.
I just started over on Epic. That's what I did. Like I just
I waited because also at launch that thing was broken for like half of the first day. So it was like this feeling of like, oh my god, I can't wait to play Hitman 3. Oh wait, I can't fucking play it because their stuff's broken. Yep. Hitman Trilogy will solve those problems and maybe make it a little bit easier to understand which Hitman you should buy on consoles, because between all of the DLC and add-on maps and the way they've done like, hey, technically the launcher is free, but the maps cost money and we're charging, like the way that stuff gets listed on the console has been terrible.
Wow.
So this is good. They're also going to make more maps, which is exciting. You know, they're not going to make a Hitman 4 per se, but coming up with new locations for a second year of Hitman content is cool. What else? Some new modes. It seems like they're taking some of the elusive targets and turning that into a kind of an arcade mode.
Right. You could play every day, but if you fail that day, then you have to wait till the next day. So that's like,
cool. It's like a 12-hour lockout. So if you fuck it up, it sounds like it's merging kind of some of the escalation concepts of like you do those elusive targets in succession, which is fun. Later this year, they're putting ray tracing in the game.
There he is.
Yeah, Raymond is coming to town. That whatever Raymond the Intel DLSS equivalent is, I think, is also on the table here. And it will come to Game Pass. So
as we all
it's getting a roguelite mode too. The roguelite mode is the other one. So
I forget
later as well. That's not January 20th. That's later this year as well.
How does that work?
Too.
Does that change the placement? Change the placement of like the weapons and stuff?
Yeah, AI and all that other stuff. So you have like AI in the environment that maybe you can buy things from or that will help you or whatever. So they're kind of taking those existing locations and putting this kind of run-based thing
That's cool
into
as
it.
Hell.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I think if they get really heavy into the remixing of what they have, even before they start putting in new levels, like I just imagine like taking that train level, which was disappointing, and taking all the characters from the like murder mystery level and doing a murder mystery level on the train.
Yeah,
I mean, come on, let's do it. Let's just make it happen. So I'm like, this game apparently sold very well. They're very happy with the way Hitman 3 performs, so that's why they're continuing to support it. So I'm like, all right, I'm all in for this because it's one of my favorite games. So I'm excited.
Yeah.
I thought they were done. I thought that they were just going to move on to the Bond thing and some of the other stuff. And it was exciting to see this announcement for sure. As more than just like, hey, our year on Epic is up and now it's coming to Steam. Like they're actually, having a good chunk
hopefully
of content with it.
Hopefully the servers just work because I tried to play a couple of weeks ago and the server was down, so it was like that first day all over again. I couldn't play it all.
Yeah. Well,
it was like every 10 seconds it would be like, hey, you're not connected to the server. I'm like, I know, just let me say I know, let me play, and it wouldn't every 10 seconds just giving me that warning.
My big problem with Hitman has always been that whenever they put out a new Hitman, I play the old levels, and then by the time I get to the new levels, I've played another 20 to 30 hours of Hitman, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a break for a while, and so I feel like this in 2021 I probably played more Hitman 2 technically than Hitman 3 and so this year I intend to play more Hitman 3 I guess.
That's the way
Maybe I'll finally play it myself. I've only watched other people play it.
It's fantastic.
I'm a very nervous stealth gamer, so I mess up a lot, so maybe I'll find
that's where the fun is. The fun of Hitman is messing up the stealth and just going like, all right, now this is like a fucking episode, Three Stooges episode.
Right. What do I have in my hand? I have a fish. Well, I'm gonna do some damage with this fish. Like
that is what Hitman stands for. Yeah.
I love other people getting into those situations. Me, I like flip out. I panic so hard.
Even if like it's the way how you want to play it, like just restart it and learn the levels over and over again.
I know,
it's so much fun to like just pick one level, pick Paris, do it over and over again, learn every single like side move that you could do in there. It's a great way to play that game for sure.
I feel like I could spend another 20 hours in Sapienza, and I probably fucking will. I probably will spend another 20 hours in Sapienza going, this map is so good. All right. Final Fantasy 14. They're going to put it back on sale later this month, the 25th, from the sounds of things. You remember that they launched that last expansion and then all hell broke loose and they had gigantic login queues and all sorts of stuff. Naoki Yoshida, the director and producer of the game, has put out a long message on their official site kind of detailing a lot of the stuff that they are intending to do as they put it back online and over the course of the year. We talked a little bit about this and kind of speculated on the sorts of things you could do to expand an MMO and how it's not just as easy as throwing more hardware at the problem. And it sounds like that they are in agreement. They're going to add 5 new worlds from the start here, and that they are going to have an Oceania server to kind of address more players there. They're waiving the transfer fee, so players who want to transfer characters from one server to another, which is obviously if you have a character on a server that is slammed all the time and has huge queues, you may want to posse up with your friends and go like, hey, why don't we all move to this other lower pop server and then we can actually play the damn game.
Is that one free server transfer? Or is it unlimited?
It does not say specifically, but it says with these being new worlds. Oh, you know what? Okay, so they're offering incentives to transfer to them. So it sounds like if you are transferring to the new worlds, they will waive the transfer fee.
I didn't realize that was something that you had to pay to do for some reason.
Yeah, that's been relatively common with MMOs over the years in terms of just like charging for server transfers and those sorts of changes. Because they do have to copy all the data over, and it's I don't know. It doesn't seem.
Is it some sort of pain in the ass? That
someone's got to drag a folder from one machine over into a remote desktop window and drop it here.
A drive,
yeah.
I bet if you could let people do it freely, I bet that like traffic jam would create a lot more headaches than let's just put money there to disincentivize people from doing it, so that not everyone's doing it all the time. It's probably pretty easy and cheap to do it for a couple people every once in a while. So
let's see here. There's a few things where they use different terminology than I am used to when it comes to these sorts of ideas in MMOs. Something called the Home World Transfer Service, which was suspended at the launch of Endwalker, is coming back online. So I think that's like where your starting location is on a server. With logins becoming less concentrated due to players making progress, and the Oceania data center now ready, we'll be resuming the service on the 25th. So that sounds like, hey, if you want to move somewhere else in game, that you can perhaps do that. They have something over the years, World of Warcraft did a thing where they took as some servers, because the problem with expanding servers is that eventually you have so many and some players fall off the game that you'll have some servers that just don't have enough players on them.
Right. Yeah.
And it's the hazard of expanding too much, too rapidly, too quickly, all that other stuff. They are now launching what they call a data center travel system. Players will be able to visit worlds in other logical data centers within the same physical data center, which is like an insane sentence.
Yeah.
This sounds like we're talking about Hitman 3 and transfer progress again.
Kind of. Yeah. So this sounds like this is like built to let you kind of if one server is bad that day, you can move to another one and play there, assuming it's still in the same data center.
If your logical data center is being an illogical data center, right, you want to move out of there. I get that.
Yes, and they are adding an additional logical data center to the Japanese market and so on and so forth. 4 new worlds under the newly established logical data center in North America, expansion of European data centers. And basically, like, they're expanding what they can when they can. They do kind of blame some of this on the supply chain and semiconductor shortage in terms of like why they aren't just doing it all immediately.
Servos and
like
stuff.
There's also still like a ton of people bleeding from Warcraft too, right? That's still like.
I wonder if those players bailed, like already bailed by now. It's certainly possible that more
damage was done.
Yeah. There was some talk in chat earlier when we were discussing the whole Microsoft Activision-Blizzard stuff, that they're just continuing to hemorrhage numbers and that they're barely reaching 1 million a month, which is wild to think of with WoW.
Wow.
Right, they were at like 12 million,
7 or 12,
and then 7 million pretty regularly for years after that.
Right. Yeah.
Microsoft
is going to try to rehabilitate World of Warcraft in some fashion.
It seems like they. I mean, my friend was saying that this gives them a chance to like sort of reset the relationship with it. So it's possible they could probably do it. People are like, we're not happy with the game, and then you look at all this news happening with Activision, so you want to get out of there. If you were like, oh, okay, maybe it's at Microsoft, maybe I'll feel better about it. It gives them a chance to like try again. But it's obviously the biggest problem now is Final Fantasy 14. It's just massive.
It's a juggernaut now.
It's at a point where like that's part of why I think like one of the things you do if you're Microsoft is you just say if you're Game Pass Ultimate, you get a WoW subscription.
Agreed.
Why not?
And then just let people play that thing. So that's a big comprehensive plan of getting Final Fantasy 14 back online. They're not re-enabling free trials just yet. They're going to kind of monitor the progress on all this stuff for now before they re-enable that stuff. That's just a wild taking a video game off sale because it sold too well. It's
still hard to kind of like get my head around that one.
I guess that's a good problem to have.
Yeah,
except for how hard it is to solve.
Yeah. I mean, the hype around Final Fantasy 14 has been outrageous. It's a crazy whirlwind of hype that has not died down since it came out, basically. And every expansion, it seems like everyone... The hype feels like it's doubled each time there's an expansion coming out. Like, just how many people are completely obsessed about it and talking about it. And the natural word of mouth of that has been, like, way crazier than anything I've seen come out of WoW. Oh yeah, that's crazy. It's just nuts.
Yeah, I've been really wanting to get into Final Fantasy 14 and have just kind of perpetually been waiting, like looking at it going like, now's not the right time for whatever, like, oh, my son doesn't sleep enough at night for me to actually meaningfully play this video game. Once I get more hours in the day back, then maybe I'll get into an MMO real bad, or
It's like going to the gym each year. It's like, this will be the year I start going.
Right.
I'm gonna get one of those Jan?
Under the desk pedal things that I only use when I'm playing Final Fantasy 14.
Is that work? What is that? Have you ever seen anyone using that?
Austin Creed said he used it.
Yeah. Strauss Zelnick says he does exactly. He's like, just exercise while you're working, then you'll get my 6-pack abs. Is how the CEO of Take-Two says that's what he did. So,
but it's his legs.
He's like doing sit-ups while he's got a monitor strapped to his face,
making deals. He's saying make more Grand Theft Auto, and then does that sit-up exactly.
I can't argue with that.
Slams the phone down and more reps.
Resistance bands.
There's weights
everywhere.
on the
phone. Some PlayStation 3 games have started appearing on the PlayStation 5 store. Video Games Chronicle has this story. It's been floating around Twitter and stuff as well, a lot of different spots. This is a weird one, but maybe not that weird when you take into account what Sony is working on. But Dead or Alive 5 is the example where it showed up with a price but can't be purchased. It does not have a PlayStation Now badge on it, which a lot of the PlayStation Now games that you can see in that store are kind of properly badged as like, hey, this is going to be a game you're going to play via the cloud or via the subscription service. Like, that game is not showing up that way. And then you start to get into the larger things around it where the retail subscription cards for PlayStation Now have been pulled off of shelves in the UK.
Oh.
And then all of the Project Spartacus stuff around having tiers based on being able to play old PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games. You start to wonder, are they running tests somewhere and this stuff showed up as a result of them testing stuff out or something like that? What is the state
of PlayStation 3 emulation on PC?
It's quite good.
It's
quite good.
I thought it was getting good. So it's like, it's time for Sony to just pull the trigger on that and say, we could do that work ourselves and get it up and running, right? I mean, PS5 can do that. Like these, the CPUs in these systems are great for emulation across the board. And then anything they can offload the GPU, they're good GPUs as well. So I would expect it to be able to handle whatever they make. It comes down to Sony wanting to invest in that emulation technology. So it seems like maybe that's what they did.
Yeah, and I feel like before the PlayStation 5 even kind of officially came out or was confirmed, there was a lot of talk around honoring the legacy of PlayStation by having a console that could play any game from the entire past, which the business around that is fucking insane. And obviously you see what Microsoft does with back compat and how crazy that can be. But yes, so I mean, the PlayStation 5 definitely capable of running PlayStation 2 games very well. When you look at PCSX2 on the PC and how well it runs PS2 games, that's a no-brainer. PS3 stuff, a lot of stuff runs really well if you have a very, very powerful PC. There's still some stuff that gets bogged down, but the thing to remember is that those are hobbyist developers kind of figuring out problems as they encounter them, whereas you would like to think that Sony's own engineers working with Sony's exact playbook for the PlayStation 3 would go like, okay, here's how the cell processor works and here's what we can do to make sure that it actually runs these games well. Or they just skew in favor of games they know they can make run well. And there may be some PlayStation 3 games that work better than others or are less demanding than others that could run at full speed and all that other stuff.
Because the PS3 emulation would still have to be kind of like the clean room sort of open source sort of thing, right? Where they have to, they couldn't use any sort of patented stuff, and Sony wouldn't have. So Sony wouldn't have to deal with that. Sony could use all the patented stuff and would
they have access to all of it. So and sometimes that cuts both ways, right? Like, I feel like there's been plenty of official emulation projects that have absolutely sucked.
Oh yeah,
that shouldn't, and plenty of hobbyist projects that work amazingly well. So. So I don't know that it's not necessarily a guarantee that the PlayStation 5 is going to immediately run every PlayStation 3 game very well, but I feel like that has to be what this is. That has to be what this means. Spartacus, their replacement for PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now and all the tiered stuff is rumored to launch in the spring.
And Spartacus doesn't make a lot of sense unless you can get like PS3 and stuff running, because PS3 is like the beginning generation of like, yeah, those games are old and they do feel old, but they're beginning to feel like also slightly timeless, where like you can go back and still enjoy them at any time. You know, that stuff definitely happened with the next generations. With those stuff on PS4, like, you know, Witcher 3 came out there. It's going to feel like new to a lot of people for a very long time. But that stuff began to kind of happen on PS3. And if you're trying to take advantage of that, if you're Sony, in the same way that Microsoft is taking advantage of it, you kind of need PS3 there. So that's what makes the whole Spartacus thing work. That's why I was always like, that's weird. Are they going to get PS3 up and running? It seems like they might be.
Yeah, and that would be the most difficult one to do, because PlayStation 1 and 2 are largely kind of solved problems, you know. But the cell processor is the cell processor, so that's the one that you're like, shit.
Like people are like, so if you have a PS3 disc and you put it in your PS5, is it going to work? That's what I want to know. Like, do they do that?
Right.
I don't have a disc drive, dog.
Yeah,
that's right. I don't have a disc drive on my PS5.
Can you download a cell processor?
I just like
tap it. You probably still work like the way the Microsoft one works, where like you put the disc in and it calls home, downloads the patch version, and that's the version you're actually running. So you're basically just putting in a key. But still, like a lot of people own a lot of PS3 games. So
and by putting that behind a tiered approach of like, you need to pay us more for our monthly service, our annual service, whatever.
That's where it gets weird.
That incentivizes them to do the work to make it work with games you already own, as opposed to the Microsoft method of, hey, we're gonna honor that, but also like we're gonna sell all these games digitally too. Which I guess they're gonna do that too here. If this DOA 5 listing is to be believed, I wonder if they end up selling this stuff piecemeal, as well as giving you access to some selection of it as part of the Spartacus stuff. Yeah, that's it's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how it shakes out, because I mean I'm interested in like official emulation projects, so I hope it works out just well.
Yeah, totally.
Speaking of old consoles, Microsoft has discontinued all Xbox One machines, which I feel like that was basically done. Oh, I guess so the Xbox One S was the only console that was still in some form of active production in 2020. But yes, the statement given out to The Verge here is that they actually stopped at the end of 2020. And so this is kind of confirming, like, hey, remember how you could only find Xbox Series S's on shelves? That's why.
Yeah, Xbox has never really had lived in a world where it made a lot of sense to continue making Xboxes for very long. Like even with like the Xbox 360, which was pretty successful, people like look back, the PS2 sold for forever. But by the time the Xbox 360 was on the way out, people were like spending money on like iPads and iPhones instead of this is when I'm going to get a console at the end of this generation. I'm like in the developing world. Like they just stopped doing that. So like the people would just spend that budget elsewhere. Where when the PS2 was like reaching that, like it was $99. It's like, I can finally afford this, and all these games are super cheap. Like, well, they're just gonna get free games on their phone now. So it's just Microsoft's never really been able to enjoy like a long life on these consoles. So it's kind of weird.
I mean, they ran away screaming from the original Xbox.
Oh yeah. 4 years, 5 years, whatever. Yeah.
And so, they've never had an elegant close of a generation. No. Whereas I feel like there's still like, Just Dance is still somehow coming out on a PlayStation 2 or something. There's just like something fucking insane happening.
Hitting the Wii, I think.
Yeah, so there's like the factory somewhere in Taiwan still pumping out Wii's somewhere. Yeah,
I want to say that this might be the first year that it didn't come to Wii or Wii U or something. I think Just Dance finally, it was like Just Dance and FIFA. Before it was Just Dance, it was FIFA. That FIFA just came to old platforms forever because there were just so many places in the world where that was valuable. But I guess via con Dios, Xbox One, you were a mess. But you got Microsoft to a better place in some weird way.
Yeah. It was the worst console of a generation that had pretty bad hardware across the board, though, wasn't it? I guess, Xbox One X was fine, but man, those hard drives and those CPUs were just trash. It was just a real. Glad we moved on.
Yeah, it's a mess. It's like it's easy to forget that, like at the start of that generation, like you said, there was a lot of talk around. Do people even want these things, or are they just going to play games on phones now?
And it's like that was not just like, the idiots in the media are saying we don't want consoles. People at Sony and Microsoft believed that there was a chance that people didn't want consoles, and so Sony was like, this thing's selling. What the hell? We got to make games. And they were like caught off guard, and like Microsoft like was like, oh, this thing's they're not selling, but obviously they can sell. Look what Sony's doing. So they tried to turn things around, but yeah, the people did not know, and so it took some time, and now obviously they've capitalized on that. But
remembering
it took that wake up call.
All of the promotional shit for that original Xbox, the Kinect stuff.
Yep.
My God, it's all flooding back.
All the decisions made under that kind of that Matrix era of
TV
of Microsoft.
shit.
Yeah. Even just the name of the console, the idea of just like it's it's Xbox One, it's your one home, it's
the all-in-one entertainment and gaming platform or whatever that they had to say every time they said Xbox One. Yes,
that thing had program guides in it. That thing supported a TV tuner.
Right.
It's
Michael Pachter said that the cable companies were going to sell us one. You could put a cable card in and then get your cable through your Xbox One. People had some pretty wild ideas about what we were going to do back then with TV.
Yeah, right. That is so fucking wild. Hey, we've decided cable's going to be around for a while. Yeah. This is not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Investing in broadcast television. Well, I just remounted my antenna for hot over-the-air signals, and I now get some ATSC 3.0 channels, but the audio just comes in as. So I was watching the Nick Cannon program with audio that sounded like a machine being ground against another machine, and I was like, "This is probably better." Television. Remember television? Remember like back before everyone launched a zillion different streaming services, and there was a notion of just like people paying one fee for some kind of bundle of channels that you could access.
Fucking
your internet cable.
Yo.
Weird times.
Infomercials have finally gone to air fryers. The rest of the world was on air fryer hype like 2019, 2020. Infomercials are just getting there.
No way.
Yeah.
Are they in HD?
No.
480p for life, baby.
It's like upscaled. It's somehow shot in 4:3 and stretched like this.
Nice.
Yeah, we're still there. We got details on another game from Respawn.
Okay. Where'd this come from?
This comes from GamesBeat's Jeff Grubb, who is claiming that it's a mobility-based single-player game. And this news comes alongside news that Mohamed Alavi, who's the creative director on the game, is leaving the studio. He designed No Russian and some other key Call of Duty levels back in the day.
Okay.
And Grubb, what's the story? This is planned for 2024, 2025, and it's not Titanfall 3. Do you think it will become Titanfall 3 as they continue to prototype it?
Right. So they're in the heavy prototyping phase. I guess for people who don't know, like Respawn, that's sort of thing that they've popularized at EA, especially spending many years prototyping stuff. And right now the plan is this is not Titanfall 3. If you ask anyone at Respawn around there, like they will tell you this is not Titanfall 3. I think there's a chance that along the ways, especially when a creative director leaves, maybe that opens the opportunity for someone to say, hey, maybe this is Titanfall 3. But right now it is not. And if you ask them about Titanfall 3, they'll say it's not in active development. At least, ask them behind the scenes and stuff.
Yeah.
But 2024, 2025, that's the goal. They're aiming for that time frame. I think there's a lot that can happen between now and then. When they say something like they're focused on mobility and they're focused on style, it's like you could do a lot in that Titanfall universe at the very least. So it could be involved in that, but I don't know.
It's probably not a Mirror's Edge reboot.
It's I can tell you right now, definitely not a Mirror's Edge. Even though a lot of people have been speculating that it is 100% not Mirror's Edge. So there you go, everybody. 100% not Mirror's Edge.
Go back to the source.
It could be. Not Mirror's Edge. But I was excited about this because it's like, Mohamed Alavi is he's pretty popular at Respawn. A lot of people were happy to let him have a project and stuff. And I think that the way that they make games is very exciting. I like the idea of just prototyping a million awesome ideas and then using only the best of those to make a game. That's how we got Titanfall 2, one of my favorite campaigns ever. So do more of that. This is just going to be this does to me. This begs the question of if this is not Titanfall 3, when do they get around to this thing that they say that they want to get back to someday? And it's it's probably still pretty far off. They don't have plans to add many other games to their slate. They got Apex Legends that they're going to keep working on. They have Jedi Fallen Order 2, which is coming out relatively soon, and then they have this, and those are their big projects right now that we could talk about.
Yeah, and it's I think the longer that Titanfall 2 is unplayable, between the hacking and kind of servers getting, I tried playing just stock Titanfall 2 on an Xbox the other day, and as soon as I got killed for the first time, the game completely froze up, and I got booted off the server and all this other stuff. And I wonder if the custom server community building around Titanfall 2 is a mod out there called North Star that people are running to play Titanfall 2 on the internet. A novel idea. If any of this gets them looking at it and going like, okay, like there's still that hardcore dedicated community, they're willing to jump through insane hoops to get Titanfall 2. What can we do for them? The answer is make Titanfall 3.
Yeah. I mean,
go straight to 4.
It needs to happen. Yeah, there you go. That's why this is not Titanfall 3. You're right. It's just going straight to Titanfall 4. It would make a huge. I mean, they're making a Skate 4, so I can't imagine I'm going to live in a world where they make a Skate 4 and never get around to making Titanfall 3. So I choose to believe that I don't live in that world. So it'll happen eventually.
And I think that honestly, like if we, the potential of what the Call of Duty kind of Activision news means for PlayStation consoles and stuff like that, in some ways you start to wonder like, okay, does this pave the way for a new big shooter of that style to exist on PlayStation consoles? Not that it would be exclusive, but it kind of helps them have a lane to themselves in a way that they kind of never had before, on account of EA continually picking the worst fucking ship dates for Titanfall game and all this other stuff.
I mean, I think Sony would be very interested in having that conversation about like you mentioned, like bringing some of that co-marketing money over, like, down the line from the studio that made Call of Duty Modern Warfare, or from the people that made Call of Duty Modern Warfare. You can easily say that sort of thing. So, and Vince Zampella, while he's like going higher and higher in the hierarchy of EA, he's still very much overseeing Respawn and be willing to like make something like that happen. So we'll see.
They'll get there. I have to believe they will get there in order to feel good about doing this job. Jess, you added the story about as we were talking about this, I saw the document start to fill up with pornography.
People were messaging me in chat about this as well, so I'm glad that this. Well done, Jess. Thank you.
It's journalism, baby.
Yes, it is.
So the headline here from Vice's motherboard is Final Fantasy porn interrupts Italian Senate Zoom event.
How did it do that?
What happened? What happened here?
I don't know, man. Tifa Lockhart getting boned
this
from behind.
image is choice. Oh my god,
it's a good image.
Boy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an Italian Senate meeting yesterday. And somebody snuck in and Zoom bombed it with they somehow got access to the meeting and threw support in there.
Left wide open here.
And this was in front of a bunch of politicians, academics, and one Nobel Prize winner got to see Tifa Lockhart.
Well, you don't win a Nobel Prize without seeing a little Final Fantasy porn along the way.
Yeah, who among us?
I assume. But I just that's good news in gaming today.
I would glad to congratulate whoever made that happen.
Yes, it's comedy because it's just like it is the porno, and then the Zoom windows, like the tiny little Zoom preview windows on the side. It's a beautiful image.
Italian gentleman.
Yeah, just watching polygonal lady get railed.
Mamma mia.
Yes.
Bunga bunga.
Direct quote.
It's a Tifa.
Direct quote.
Yeah, I think is how they say it there. Wordle, we talked about how it was incredibly likely that Wordle clones were going to flood the App Store. They did, and then they all got silenced. We're not really sure what happened here. Polygon has a story that a bunch of these games started showing up. You had a guy on Twitter bragging about his fucking Wordle clone.
He was such a dickhead, that guy. Oh my God.
We makes it very easy to feel like nothing about this happening to him. Like, I feel
totally. Yeah, this is the absolute 100% subject of this week's Very Online show. This exact thing. So just a little preview.
Forward.
But yeah,
nice. Yeah,
let's, really get into our friend on the internet. I believe his name was Zach something.
Good.
All these Zachs. Come on, Zachs.
I don't know, Zachs.
Shape up here.
Apple, well, presumably Apple stepped in and took them all off the App Store. There's no official statement from them as to exactly what happened here. But again, as I'm sure you know, Bakalar, as they're researching this topic, like this is not the first time this has happened. It almost certainly will not be the last. But I feel like it's been a black eye on these app stores when you look at all these low quality clones of a popular game coming in and all this other stuff. So I wonder if if someone finally won an argument inside Apple saying like, hey, we can't let this happen again. It makes us look like idiots.
Yeah, I think it's a really strange mixture of like optics, ethics, and the just business practice in general. Like you obviously can't end this forever.
Capitalism.
Yeah, but I also think like, the sort of promise that like every app somehow graces human hands and eyes and just this, it just seems like an impossible thing to really police in a meaningful way.
Because that's a lie. Like they don't do that. They don't really pay attention on that level. And
sure.
It's like, one part of me is like, cloning in games is as old as video games, and you can't own a concept of like what a game is. Like that's not, like you can own the branding and the IP and the trademark and all this stuff, but like the mechanics of a game is something that we've, for the most part, haven't been able to like to allow patents of. And that's here and there that does happen. For the most part, it's like these things are just open. And like the game itself, Wordle, right? We've talked, like you guys talked about it. Like it was like it's lingo and mastermind, all these other things mashed up together. And so is the creator of lingo going to come and sue Wordle? Like, should we allow that to happen? But if you run a store, like if I go to Kroger and I try to go buy cornflakes and I see, I'm like, okay, there's some cornflakes. I can bring them home and it says cornflarks or whatever. I'm like, okay, like you don't want to be the store that does that. Like, obviously you don't want to be the store that like enables these people to like to hoodwink users. So like Apple, I think Apple doing this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And I think
I love cornflarks. What are you talking about?
I'm sorry. I know many people grew up on cornflarks.
They're only a little bit poisonous. I mean, so
they're not so sharp.
Cornflarks.
Yeah. Me and my high tower with my cornflakes. I'm sorry, looking down at corn. Wow.
Our cereal comes in a can. This is you're right that this is kind of as old as time, and I think some of this comes down to just like the look and feel, where most of them just duplicated the exact look and color scheme and everything of Wordle. Like when people were looking at Pac-Man or Space Invaders and going like, man, people putting a lot of yen in these machines, we should do something like that. They said like, oh, well, you're a ladybug now. Some people just straight up hacked the boards and made bootlegs of the boards and said like, here's Crazy Kong, fuck you. But generally speaking, the people who were above board, they took some of those concepts and took them in a different direction, which is like, that's
gut test. Like, does it make you feel bad to look at this thing? Like, I'm looking at this thing, it looks exactly like that other thing that I know exists. That makes me feel bad. If it does that, it's like, easy to just get it off the store.
Tifa porn, it's gut test. Does it make you feel bad to look at this thing? Absolutely not.
Yes, but in a good way.
No. Yeah. Today is the day for price changes for Halo cosmetics. I haven't seen what they've actually done here, but they did last week. Jerry Hook of 343, head of design, got up there and said, hey, starting Tuesday, we are going to change up the shop experience with a goal towards having a better value for their bundles and also breaking apart some of those bundles so you can purchase individual items.
When you said Halo cosmetics, I thought you meant the little the nail polish. And
we have some of those here in the house.
I got excited. I was like, oh, you can they're cheaper now? Okay, cool.
Yeah. We have two colors of the Xbox branded cosmetics here in the house, but it did not come with anything indicating how I will get my purple Halo man.
You have to drink it.
Drink it. Okay, yeah, I'm on it.
It's at the bottom of the bottle.
I want my insides to be sparkly.
The bottom of the bottle.
Delicious.
Which colors did you get? Sorry to change the subject.
I don't know what she ended up picking out.
Whatever.
Like a green and I don't know. Sparkly something or other. I wanted the blue one, but I lose again. This is something, on the long list of things people have been complaining about with regards to Halo. They've been working on changing what they can quickly to kind of address that stuff, whether it was the playlist stuff a few weeks ago and now the cosmetics. That stuff is a little pricey, but that's become the norm in a lot of ways, where like the Fortnite skin, the Apex skins being $20, like the Halo stuff seemed sort of in line with that. But I guess if you're paying that amount of money and getting Ryu as opposed to It's a Master Chief, but he's got different goggles. Like maybe
how much did you pay for John McClane? Like John McClane was
20.
how much?
I want to say that was $20 also.
Right.
Sure.
Do you think this just means that like the Halo cosmetics aren't selling, and that's the real reason why they're like lowering the price?
Probably. I mean, that has to be part of it, right? If they were selling gangbusters, but like, these early ones all just look like different variants, the same things that you would earn for free in previous Halo games. So I think it's very easy for players to look at it and go like, man, you're just giving me the recon armor on this battle pass or all this other stuff that would just kind of be there in previous games or be freely unlockable as opposed to being tied to a battle pass. And on top of that, selling the cat ears, I bet sold pretty well for them because I saw those things fucking everywhere.
Yep.
When they hit. So I bet they've got some that do better than others. But like when they bundle them all together and it's like now you have a new little icon to go on your chest. Like no one ever sees those outside of the intro and end of a match. Like they're worthless. So just being able to get the stuff that matters, I don't know. Yeah, it's tough because like at the same time it's also the first season of the game, and so they're not going to launch with Robot John McClane or whatever the Tony Hawk
to their detriment for sure. Yeah,
Naruto and Halo. Naruto and Halo.
Yeah, it's like here's Captain Price, but he's wearing armor. I don't know. There's a billion different directions that they can now they can go there. Yeah.
God, yeah. Just give the Captain Price mustache on the Halo armor, and that's it. Yeah.
Slap it on.
Sure. Actually, yes. Do that
immediately
for sure. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that shakes out. As someone who has spent money on Halo cosmetics and been largely happy with it because I like the look of my Halo man. Actually, I think it's a Halo lady, but either way. Stalker 2 has been delayed to December. We touched on that earlier. This thing has had quite the ride. And I don't even want to get into all the details of that ride other than that game got announced in 2012 and then canceled and then re-announced in 2018. It's insane. Who knows if it'll even make December at this point.
December's such a weird time to delay a game from like the beginning of the year all the way to December right away. Like you normally would go like, okay, October and then September, they would say, okay, actually now it's coming in December. And just automatically going to December is just a weird one to me. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal of it than it needs to be, but it just seems odd.
Yeah. It is a weird move. But also sometimes when they make those weird moves, those are the moves that stick, right? Whereas if you were like September, you'd be like, oh, you're going to get out of the way of something else. Where if they're like, it's December, they're probably pretty confident that they can hit that.
It's an Unreal Engine 5 game, right? Do you think that has anything to do with it? I wonder if like maybe the engine's like early on enough that they're like, oh, we just thought we'd be able to get over this hump and we can't figure it out.
Like we can't optimize enough for console to get where we need to get.
Like Epic told us like it's gonna be super scalable, and it will be, I'm sure, because Unreal Engine 4 is super scalable.
Yeah.
Maybe they just didn't get that stuff in place in time. Because I mean, Epic's only just moved a few things to Unreal Engine 5, and those are all older games. So no new Unreal Engine 5 game has launched yet, I don't think. So
yeah, no, and it's just the Matrix thing, right?
That's right. Yeah,
it's just that. So yeah, I guess when you stack it up that way and you assume that everything is behind because of everyone working from home, I bet the Unreal Engine 5 updates are probably a little bit behind where they thought they would be as well. So that's maybe they're just waiting on tech too. And our last story, Sony put out a list of the most downloaded games of 2021. This is just going to be for, I believe, they have US and Canada and the EU broken out separately. I thought this was an interesting little list. They've got a handful of lists here for PS5, PS4, PSVR, and then free games. Fortnite, of course, topping the free game list in both territories. Call of Duty Warzone, the number 2 free to play game in the US and Canada, with Rocket League being number 2 in the EU. Rocket League, big. Still big. Yeah.
Still going.
Still big. I thought this was interesting in terms of remembering just how popular basketball is. The top PlayStation 5 game is the $70 NBA 2K22, even beating Call of Duty Vanguard. And that's most downloaded, so that doesn't include retail sales, I suppose. So when you
pretty crazy, FIFA 21 and 22 in the top 3 for the EU.
Yeah, maybe not that. Maybe not that surprising.
Freaks.
Just
footballers.
Football's dope. Football's dope.
Yeah. Deathloop squeaking in at number 18 in the US and Canada, 19 in the EU. Canada Bridge of Spirits making number 20 in the US.
Cool.
Good for them.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was that download only?
That's
yes.
a good question.
Yeah. I don't know.
I thought so.
I honestly don't know.
It was, but actually, now that I think about it, I feel like now we're going to look.
Kana
there's no way
came
to
in
know.
at 7 on the EU. I didn't realize they loved it so
Must
much.
have a soccer mini game in it somewhere.
I know, right?
You kick around the little fluff balls.
I have a disc, so someone. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Yes, there's a physical. Yes, there is. Yeah, for PS4 and for PS5. Yeah. Battlefield number 5 in both territories. So, despite it being kind of a mess, still selling.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not quite as well as they wanted it to. I don't know. But actually, I guess the Steam concurrence.
Oh, sad to see the GTA Definitive Edition trilogy at number 17 for the EU. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, maybe
shame.
someday they'll fix that stuff up.
That's a shame for Europe.
And then you get to PS4 and it's just Grand Theft Auto 5 over and over again.
Minecraft. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of the kind of the big standards that you would expect to see here, but when you get out of that PS4 list, you see stuff like The Forest showing up there, and the console version of Rust and that sort of stuff. Beat Saber, your number one VR game.
Naruto Shinobi Striker. There you go.
Oh, that's a good one too.
There you go.
Oh, it's Boruto. That's his son.
Yeah.
I can't speak to that one.
I know. Oh, fair enough.
Okay. All right.
His son could suck. Fair enough. Yeah.
What the hell is Gorn?
It's a VR game.
It's a VR game. You punch. You're like in an arena, and you punch dudes, and they come out. They're all floppy, and it's just you have your way with them with physics, and it's a very straightforward but super fun set of interactions of like, I'm going to pick up this mace and spin it around, and then clobber you with it.
Oh, I think I've seen it.
Yeah, it's
Gorn.
Gorn flakes.
Yeah,
just saying the word Gorn is bringing me a great deal of joy here.
Yeah.
Gorn.
My
wife was convinced it was a portmanteau of gore and porn and got very upset with me, and I had to show her the game. So
it sounds like that's true, right?
It's maybe not. I mean, there's no actual...
I'm not gonna Google it, but probably.
Yeah.
All caps,
Gorn in all caps.
Can't make your game all caps porn,
Pornography.
Yeah. Yes, and that's going to do it for news. We're doing things a little backwards. We're going to come back, talk about some video games, and then take your emails. How about that?
Cool.
Stay tuned. This podcast is brought to you in part by Shopify. Shopify gives entrepreneurs the resources once reserved for big business. So upstarts, startups, and established businesses alike can sell everywhere, synchronize online and in-person sales, and effortlessly stay informed. Because let's face it, scaling your business is a journey of endless possibility, right? You're just trying to sell stuff, just like a fledgling little thing, just knocking out some, what do you sell? Shirts? What do you got? Pins? Something like that. But hey, if it blows up, is it going to scale? Will it scale? The question to the internet is always ready to ask. Shopify will scale with you. As your business grows, Shopify is ready. Shopify powers over 1.7 million businesses from first sale to full scale. You can reach customers online and across social networks with an ever-growing suite of channel integrations and apps like Facebook. You heard of this? You heard of this thing? Facebook. People love it. Instagram, which I think is just another word for Facebook. TikTok, Pinterest, and more. You can synchronize your online and in-person sales. So if you're selling stuff out the trunk of your car, like Freddie B and Todd Shaw were in Oakland in the 80s, you can. But you also want to sell stuff online, like Todd Shaw is these days. You can synchronize all that stuff so you don't run out of inventory or something like that. Sell stuff you don't have yet, all that other stuff. Keep it all in sync, ready to go, ready to look at and go like, okay, this is how many of these things I've got. This is how many rap tapes I have left to sell. Insights like those and your profit margins and beyond. More than a store, Shopify grows with you. This is Possibility, powered by Shopify. Go to shopify.com/bomb, that's all lowercase, for a free 14-day trial and get full access to Shopify's entire suite of features. Grow your business with Shopify today. Go to shopify.com/bomb right now. Shopify.com/bomb. Indeed.com/bomb. All right, hey, you're successful in business because you love doing the research, whether it's the state of the market or the next right hire. But when you're low on hours and you still want to do a great job on hiring, who do you go to for help? That's when it's time for Indeed. If you're hiring, you need Indeed, because Indeed is the hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. And Indeed is the only job site where you're guaranteed to find quality applications that meet your must-have requirements, or else you don't pay. Instead of spending hours on multiple job sites hoping to find candidates with the right skills, you need one powerful hiring partner that can help you do it all. And that's Indeed. Indeed will partner with you on every step of the process. You can find talent through time-saving tools like Indeed Instant Match, assessments, and virtual interviews. And as soon as you sponsor a post, Instant Match is ready to give you a short list of quality candidates with resumes on Indeed that match your job description, and you can invite them to apply right away. And you only pay for quality applications that meet your must-have requirements. Indeed makes it easy to hire great talent, and according to ComScore, Indeed is the #1 job site worldwide. And Indeed delivers 4 times more hires than all other job sites combined, according to Talent Nest. A nest of talent. A hotbed. Talent hotbed. That's probably a different thing. Join more than 3 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Start hiring right now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/bomb. Offer valid through March 31st. Go to Indeed.com/bomb to claim your $75 credit before March 31st. Indeed.com/bomb. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. And we're back. Why don't we talk about some video games?
Yeah,
sure.
A novel idea. I know. But hey, it's hour 3. We're here the third hour. It's post the drive time. Everyone's at work already, so no one's listening anymore. So we can talk about video games. Big week for co-op shooting games. Between the Anacrusis and a Rainbow Six Extraction coming up. Well, I guess that'll be within 7 days. That counts as a week around these parts.
Sure.
Jeff Grubb, you've spent some time with some Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. What do you think so far?
I think I hate it.
Go on.
I think it's very boring, and I don't enjoy playing it. So I played about an hour, and I think I might still be in tutorial missions. So forgive me. But
have you extracted yet?
I think I've exfilled out of a few places. I don't know if I've extracted anything. So first of all, it doesn't do when it says on the 10. I think I've left places where
you infiltrate or you exfiltrate.
Okay.
So
I exfiltrated. Yeah. Look, come on,
right.
Get up on the lingo, Bakalar.
Yeah. No, my brain went somewhere else.
You'd think they would lead with the extraction.
Yeah. Right. But what I'm gathering is it's like, okay, so what if Left 4 Dead were slow and you were supposed to be stealthy? So it's a stealth co-op, like the zombie shooter thing. The zombies so far have been very, very easy. You take them out really quickly. They don't notice you unless they hear you. So you're supposed to sneak around. And then there are these like pods that cause the goo to take over the level, and you need to find the pods and destroy them so the goo stops taking over. But then also you can kind of leave whenever you want. The idea of a stealth one of these co-op games does not seem very good to me, but maybe it would be other people's jam. I did have a lot more fun with Anacrusis, but what I played of Rainbow Six Extraction so far has been sort of like, I don't get who this is going to be for. I guess maybe if you are someone who's super into Rainbow Six Siege and you are like in love with those characters, maybe that brings you over here and you're like, okay, I'll find the ins and outs of all these different characters that are now in Extraction. But even that didn't seem like, you're mostly just shooting, and I threw like a little one of those drone cars on the ground. I drove one of those around just like in Siege, but it still doesn't have a lot of Siege flavor. It doesn't feel like there's a ton of characteristics to like the characters in Siege, and that stuff, like I was not getting the sense of that at all from like who I was using in Extraction. I can't remember who it was, but it seems boring.
The Clancyverse seems like it is at this gigantic crossroads where Ubisoft wants it to be way more things than the players who play those games want. And Like between that and the Heartlands and
X Defiant and
and then the other thing, the Battle Royale thing that fell off the map. It just it seems like they were like, wait, Siege is really popular. We need to find a way to get more popular games, and then I don't know that any of those are going to do it. X Defiant seems especially weird to me. Well, I don't know. This seems weird to me too. It's but for some reason I am interested in trying it. Despite it kind of not being my thing.
Play with other people. I played by myself, so obviously that's not going to be its the best like way you're going to be able to experience it.
Does it do AI, or is it just kind of let you in there alone? Okay,
you just let you go in there alone, which I was fine with. I think it's intended to be played that way. They're like, oh, some people are going to play this by themselves.
Totally. I mean, you scale the levels. You have to let people play.
Right.
Yeah, but
it was not fun that way. But I don't know. Even when you're playing with other people, I don't see the potential for like wacky stuff to happen. Like that's one of the reasons you go and play like a Left 4 Dead style game is, you're going to play the same levels over and over, but your friends are going to make it different each time because there's systems in place to make it feel just a little bit different, and something's going to happen. You're going to come out with a story. I guess maybe the sneaking around, maybe your friend forgets to sneak and something. I don't know, but it did not click with me at all.
I feel like that's the thing about the Anacrusis is there are parts of that game, very limited parts of it, where if your friend forgets to sneak, they get swarmed by spiky eggs and murdered, and that is madcap fun.
Yes, exactly. It has that going for it. Anacrusis does. It does. It's definitely not the best feeling shooter or whatever, but wild stuff can happen, and I enjoy it for that.
We had good goo game. Good goo game.
2 goo games for 2022 already.
2020 goo.
Yep.
But also a good year for gunk.
Not the gunk, but
no, gunk in general.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everyone's coming down with a case of the gunk, whether they want it or not. We ended up playing the Anacrusis, and it's I've played it a couple times now. We played with some of the devs a little bit before, and then we streamed some of it. And it's early access, but the parts of that game are pretty rough. Right now. You're right that the shooting doesn't, like the weapons just lack a certain oomph to them, whether it's audio or
that game your weapons interacting with the enemies just seem kind of pointless.
There's nothing to it.
There's just nothing there. There's just there's no it all just follows a very similar sort of like net sort of like, oh, okay, I guess this one was dead there. Like I feel like hitbox stuff feels weird, not ultra impactful from that strict sort of like point of view of like,
I think that like I'm shooting the big melee bubble. The melee attack in that game is a big bubble that emanates from you and knocks enemies back. I feel like that ends up being the most satisfying attack in the game, especially if you have the right perks, because you visibly see these enemies go and fly away. You're like,
there's an animation and stuff like they ragdoll just a tiny bit. None of that stuff happens when you shoot them though. There's no reaction from the enemies. There's no sound, there's no on-screen indicator. It's all kind of like flat, like shooting through paper, and not even then like there's some reaction, but you get nothing of that from there. So I want to like give them some bit of the doubt for early access, but if you come to play one of these games for the fun of shooting, there are better ones of these out there. But it did put me and my friends in a number of situations where, the one moment was we got to the safe room and I thought it was safe. We opened the door. I'm just standing inside there, and then the grabber guy from across the chasm grabs me and drags me all the way across, and I start screaming. And then of course he drops me right over the chasm, so I die, and everyone doesn't know what happened until it's like it's a fun story. It's cool that happened. Like the game enables that stuff, and if they can emphasize that stuff and keep make it so that stuff happens more often, or at least just as memorable, they'll be fine. They're going to keep updating this game for a long time, they said. So I'm willing to sort of come back and check in on it every once in a while, every couple of updates, and see how it's doing.
Yeah, I feel like the potential is like clearly off the charts, and it's right there that this has so much room to grow. I feel like what you guys said about the weapons not feeling tasty enough when you use them is definitely true. Something that was bugging me was how like predictable the waves were. It's like, oh, it's been about 90 seconds. Where there's going to be another wave. It just felt very like
everyone
very
stood still
strict.
for just 1 second too long, and now here's the music, and here you go.
Yeah, it was very strict. Like you hung around and you looked at something for just a moment too long. Here comes the guys to make you keep on moving and stuff like that. And that just kind of got a bit dull. I feel like the bigger baddies are interesting, but they don't have the same like.
They kind of came too frequently.
It came too frequently, and they were difficult. But when they come that frequently, they're just annoying to deal with, and you aren't frightened by them the same way you might have been frightened by a boomer or spitter or something like that in Left 4 Dead. Which I know everybody's comparing this to Left 4 Dead constantly because it's a Left 4 Dead space basically. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that bugged me a little bit how predictable the waves were, and it's just like, oh, here we go again, one more time, here we go, and the environment didn't feel like I was progressing quick enough through it, or through environments that were different enough that I felt like a mental progression, like, this is a new area. A couple times you went into this big atrium, and it's just like, ooh, a big atrium, and I know
a bunch of flowers everywhere. Yeah, it looks very different.
Yeah, so I think it needs a little more environment, like, I don't know, variance or something like that. And in addition to like, man, these guys just keep coming at the same old intervals. It's a little tedious.
Yeah, I was really skeptical with Back 4 Blood at first when they introduced that each individual character has like specific. It's almost like a class-based shooter in like Left 4 Dead, and then I was really hesitant on that. But then upon finally finishing that with a group of friends, I kind of missed that like, kind of play your class of like, I am the healer of the group. I'm going to heal everyone up.
That might be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how they could weave that into that, but the perk system is interesting enough where you got to go to like a little kiosk thing and just wait for that. But even that instance of, I feel like there could be some art added, or I don't know, like you're getting mutations, maybe make your dude goopy for a second as he transforms and mutates.
Goopy.
Yeah. It's like when you get the right set of perks and they synergize and stuff, like there's like you stumble into some fun builds. But yeah, you're right. It's definitely like, well, you got these 4 guns or whatever, and you'll find turrets and some other arc cannons and lasers or whatever out there in the field. But yeah, like I don't know. Like as someone who plays a lot of, not a lot anymore, I guess, but someone who has played a lot of Call of Duty, there is a certain amount of like, what if these guns had attachments? Like a certain amount of like, hey, as I'm leveling up, let me.
Because that adds to like the sense of satisfaction of like, we're sticking around with a level, we're still going, getting those extra attachments for your guns feels semi-rewarding. That like, now I can
like exploring every corner, like you're exploring every corner, but it's like, why am I exploring every? Like, we just found one of those things that increases my perks. I know we're not going to find another one because it's an AI that's going to determine that. So, what am I looking for here? It's like, it would be nice to have another thing to look for. But attachments is a good idea, maybe.
Yeah, and I like the art style. Like that's kind of 70s sci-fi stuff. I think is pretty neat. And finally something that's not just like, here's another fucked up town full of zombies. Like I just whatever. So
I do like the aliens and their sense of style. Their fashion style in this is really adorable. I feel like maybe this is just me, of course, wanting a slightly easier game. But I feel like we died twice in the first level, whereas I feel like if you play Left 4 Dead, like you're probably the first level is probably not going to, you might have some close calls, it might be thrilling and stuff like that, but I feel like we got like so swamped and couldn't deal with it. And I feel like the first level is kind of like, not that it should be a tutorial, but it should be the thing that gets you addicted to it. That's just like, it's really satisfying to do this. It was really rewarding to get through this. And I think they made it just a scotch too difficult. And it made me feel like if I would bounce off this and I wouldn't play it again unless somebody was like, that I haven't hung out in a while was invited me to this or something like that.
Maybe we were just too good and the AI director was like, obviously you're ready for this or something. I don't know.
Was there any indication that I skipped over about how far we were in the level? Like a little pipper, like a little dot or anything?
No, some kind of indicator. Like I guess that's the other thing I'll say is that session, we ended up not finishing that level by the time we were like, we have to record another podcast, because we ran into some technical issues there in the middle and had to kind of unfuck that. And And then also, yeah, we ended up dying a couple of times, but like,
were you guys did the first chapter, right?
Yeah, we did
So
the first chapter, and
do you guys know how it ends? Like, there's like you have to like fill up, do a download, and we struggled on that.
So it's you run up to a kiosk and start a thing, and it basically has to fill up, and you are getting rushed over and over again as that completes. Yeah, and so you're kind of holding down a location.
On the stream, we got as far as the big field. Of flowers.
Yeah, we died in the field. So we got most of the way there before we had to stop. Yeah.
So that download, like there's a bar that fills up, but it's like above a door, and we didn't notice it. We didn't know it was there until like the third or fourth time we did it. So it had filled up, and we didn't know that we could go and like finish the level basically. So we had to like do it a couple times before someone noticed that bar. Like, I think that's it right there. I think it's filling up. I'm like, oh, okay. So once we kept an eye on that, then we immediately beat the level. So it's like, okay, so there's some like UI stuff happening there. Sure. As well.
Yeah, we got caught up, and I don't know if it ended up being a glitch or not, or if it was just us not pressing the right button somewhere in the area. But that elevator that was not zooping us up, was that just us not pressing an additional button, and we were just like,
it got pressed twice, but like the visual was that the elevator was active and ready to suck you up to the next level. Yeah. So even if someone came up and hit that button twice, like there probably needed to be some indication other than maybe on the button itself or something.
Yeah, like it needs to be. It was like blue and swooshing up. It should have been red and not moving,
like not letting you in at all or something. But we ran into like that was a funky bit there, and I don't know if that's a tech thing. I don't know if that's just they need again like a UI thing or if like that's we some specific bug. That. But
we came away from that not being sure if that was us or the game, and like that's how not great the UI indication was for that. We walk away from this and we're not even sure if it was our fault or the game's fault.
Yeah.
So has potential though. Like I want to, go back to this game when there's more polish on it.
Yeah. Lots of room for improvement.
So speaking of polish, Jan, you played some God of War on the PC. I messed around with this a little bit as well.
Oh man, I blame Matthew Rory.
Do it.
God, it's
say it.
Boy, I can't do it. Boy.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh.
Yeah.
It turns out re-releasing a very great game. It's still a very great game, and it looks super pretty on the PC. I'm very glad that folks that didn't get the opportunity to play it originally can play it in this form. I was playing on a 2080. I've heard people with older graphics cards still have a little bit of a rough time. But let me tell y'all, it is nice to throw that axe and have life lessons with my sick son and not worry about my PS4 exploding. Because I played that on a base PS4, and I remember Ben and I like comparing notes at the time. Is like, hey, like, is yours hella dusty too, or like, should we clean it? Or can we borrow a pro from the office? And just constantly being just thinking like, my PS4 might break. I have to keep playing this game. But here, it's great that like I don't have to worry about that, and it feels very sacrilegious to see Xbox button UI over God of War.
Also, I think they didn't do a good job. I feel like the button UI looks bad.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like standard Xbox button UI. It looks like they just kind of used the same shape and color scheme they would have used for PlayStation buttons and said, fuck it, it's a B now. And it doesn't look great, but whatever. My main problem with that game when it came out on PlayStation was that neither of the graphical options satisfied. You could uncap the frame rate, you could lock the frame rate at 30, which I thought felt bad, and you could uncap it, but it wasn't 60. And so you could have this uneven frame rate that in some ways felt worse. And it was one of those things that over time, like, I had my other issues with the game, generally speaking. There was just like, I hit a point where I was just like, I'm just not having that good of a time. And I just don't think it looks that great on either setting. And like visually it looks awesome, but like just the performance was such a hassle. And so now you can spend your way out of that problem, and it runs fucking great. It looks awesome on a 3090. You're like, geez, this is 165 frame. No fucking problems here. That axe flies real good.
Yep.
And that's a nice, that's nice. So I started playing it again, and I don't know much more I'm going to play. It's like, they solved that problem, and I'm like, oh, awesome, I should play this. But then I sat down to play, and I'm like, oh, right, I kind of got to a point with this where I thought the combat was kind of boring and didn't
that
really,
was my problem too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was really like the flip of that. There's so much on my to-do list still, and then I I was up late, and then I realized, like, why am I still playing this old ass game? Because like now I can do the cool stomp, and like my son shoots better and summons spirit wolves.
I'm gonna try it again. I have it, and I'll put it with the 3080 Ti here and go to town. I want to see it again. So, but I imagine I'm probably gonna end up kind of like being like, that was fun for 5-6 hours. Now I'm gonna bounce out or whatever. I think that's what I did the first time. Maybe not even that long. It's a fine game that I could tell was very good. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that I always fall back into this loop again of like, I gotta replay this and see what a 3080 can do with this game. I gotta do this whole thing again, and it's like, I don't know. I last 90 minutes maybe. It's just because I don't know. My brain refuses to allow me to experience joy. Mate, I don't know if that's what it is.
We know, totally.
That's why you need to like you take your graphical card, like your graphics card tests a little more seriously and start playing different games. Like that's fine, but do what I did: get that 3090 and then use it to play the PlayStation 3 version of 50 Cent Blood on the Sand at 4K.
Well, now you're talking.
Yeah,
I mean,
you said you played that. I was wondering if you were emulating that. Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
Oh man,
it ran quite well. Tony Yayo has never been so good.
Wow.
Man.
And that's a cool game, but I think like you, Grubb, it's just kind of not for me. I don't know.
It's
I hit a wall
okay
with it.
I
was like,
obviously a lot of people love it, so I'm like,
super well made.
Don't change a thing about it. Like you can go enjoy it. It's just totally not for me.
Good suplexes in that game, though.
Yeah,
That's true. Yeah.
Vampire Survivors is out. That's an early access game on Steam for I think it's only a few bucks.
$2.99. Speaking about pushing a 3090 to its limits, huh?
Yeah, right. This thing runs at insane frame rates. This is a game I thought was going to be a dual joystick shooter, but instead it is it's a one joystick shooter with no buttons. You just walk. The weapons all auto fire, and so like it's a top down game. You are and it is also has all the items just come out of Castlevania, and so it's like a weird top down dual joystick shooter looking game that steals a bunch of stuff from Castlevania, like holy water and boomerangs, like the weapons of a Castlevania game, and then you don't even, if you have a whip, you don't even crack it yourself. It just it's on a cooldown and it constantly does what it does. And so like when you pick up a knife, that shoots in the direction you're facing, whereas like the magic wand shoots a bolt in the direction of the closest enemy. And so these different rules combine. The Bibles just spin around you in a circle. And so you eventually get 6 or 7 different weapons that are all firing off at their different cooldowns. And then you pick up a thing that reduces cooldowns and you level up. It's a level-based, run-based game. So every time you level up, it's going to throw you 3 random perks like Crimson Land or Fallout or whatever. And so you're picking stuff to enhance this stuff over and over again. And eventually you get to like level 40 as your character and you're like, fuck it. Nothing can touch me. I'm unmurderable. And then you fuck up and die. And you're like, God damn it. This stupid game. I had a 40-minute run. Why am I doing this? It's way too late. I got to go to bed.
Fantastic. I can't stop playing this game. It's stupid. I hate it.
Yeah, it's really neat. I can't wait to see them put more stuff in it. More levels, more characters, more weapons, like all that sort of stuff. And also maybe balance it a little bit. Like I feel like the garlic is maybe a little OP.
Ooh, you went for a garlic run.
Yeah, max level garlic. So it puts a radius around you where you automatically do damage to any enemy that gets close to you. And for a lot of the base level enemies, that means they can never touch you. So you just have waves of enemies running at you and they're just dying before they ever get to you. And then you just have to move around in a slight circle to pick up the resources that they're dropping, because that what gets you XP so you can level up and get more fucking garlic and all that other stuff.
So this is Vampire Survivors, right?
Yes, Vampire Survivors.
Yes.
Okay. I'm downloading it after the show.
We have a video up already, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it says you can be the bullet hell. Now, do you feel like you were the bullet hell?
I don't. It doesn't. It's not, because you never get like full crazy patterns. Like there are weapons that shoot out. Like the boomerang goes out. There's a little diamond shaped thing that's like a laser beam that kind of goes out in a direction, but you never feel like, and I haven't upgraded every single weapon to unlock the variants and stuff, so maybe you do eventually get there, but I feel like in most of my runs, no, it's been more of like not real heavy on bullets and more on me standing still and letting everything die as it walks into me.
This is a 99% overwhelmingly positive game on Steam.
Yeah.
With 3,000 reviews.
I don't know if this is going to sway anyone or drive anyone away. This is the new Auto Pets.
Oh wow,
it's not the new Auto Pets.
It's not a similar game at all, but it occupies the same space in my brain.
Yeah.
I get it though.
High-level Bibles are pretty good too. You get high-level Bibles and high-level garlic combined. You just form this radius around you that a lot of stuff can't touch. In the library level, there are these enemies that rush you and blow up, and that's probably the most dangerous enemy that I've seen in the entire game. But
the swarm of bats early game can really throw you off as well.
Yeah.
I like that it calls the health pickups just floor chicken.
Yep.
Oh, good.
You get a lot of floor chicken in that game, and it's pretty good. And I think but at the same time, maybe a little content light right now when you talk about just the early access aspect of it, but I think there's plenty there for the price. And
this review says this review from Baron Calamity is nice to hear. It's simple and addictive. I'm a disabled gamer and the controls are very accessible. I normally don't play early access games, but this one is good as it is now.
Awesome.
So it's nice to hear. That's cool. It's like someone who would probably struggle with a game that's in early access because it doesn't have all the accessibility features. It's already good to go here. So
yeah,
I'm gonna check
I
this
think
out.
because it is, you're just, I'm playing it with an analog stick, with one analog stick, because sometimes you want to walk slowly and let the garlic do its dirty work. But yeah, you can play with keyboard. I want to say it has mouse support and maybe even touch screen support. If you have a touch screen, I do not. But yeah, it's and that's it. There's the only other thing you're really doing is picking perks when you level up, which I use the mouse for that.
You gain money and then you can use that money to upgrade your power-ups across the game, I believe.
Yeah, outside of the game, there's a skill tree that you use to just kind of like level up your starting stats and stuff like that. It is well made. Jess, you've been playing American McGee's Alice?
Wow. Like an idiot. Yeah, for some reason. So I started replaying it, because I played this game when I was like 12 on like my family's PC that could not run it. It was like 10 frames a second. I did not know better. That was just the Neopets and the Sims machine, basically. So it could not run American McGee's Alice. And it was also too hard for me to get anywhere in. So I actually ended up running through that game with God mode on as a child. And I don't remember goddamn anything about this game. It's bad. Don't play it. It's needlessly difficult. We're playing it on easy mode and still like save scumming constantly. Every jump is a horror. Every ledge grab is hypothetical sometimes. It is just very 2000 when it comes to like a PC-ish platformer. But basically I went back to it because we watched Jason play some Shadow Man, and it reminded me of Shadow Man.
I'll do it.
And I was like, you know what, I'm getting back into this again. And now I'm like 80% through the game. I'm almost done.
Nice.
Every time
So you're
pick up a
excited that he's
weapon-
making another one, right?
Yeah.
Yes,
Any day
he is
now.
apparently. Any day now. Yeah, he's got a Patreon that is just full of people that apparently get to have a say in game development if you're on the Patreon, which seems like a extreme fool's errand.
What if you put the Mad Hatter in it?
Yeah, more
Instead,
Cheshire
What
Cat.
if
He's
you
like
put it-
really fucked up though. Like,
You ever
really
see that
fucking
Tom
twisted.
Petty video? You should make it that.
Twisted.
whole game.
I also just like have like a real like strange nostalgic love for like
Hot
edgy,
Topic.
hot topic-y,
Mm.
It's just such an aesthetic. It's just like this super cute, like it rides the line between cute and cringe for me, and I'm just like completely enamored with it.
Yeah,
at
you
the
should
end
get
of
into
day.
the, what is it? What's the game that Gwen Stefani did the voice for? It was an original
What?
Xbox platformer. Oh God. I
This
feel
is
like I
like-
have this
it's like-
conversation once a year, and it's a new year, so we should probably
Yeah,
have the
time
Gwen
Malice?
Stefani.
Malice?
Malice, yes.
What
yeah.
is this? Oh my god, I ain't never seen this before.
Is it just
Look
her
at this.
voice, or is it like a Bruce Willis like using
No,
her?
it's just her. It's just her voice.
She's so like
missed
anime, but
opportunity.
in like a how to draw anime by some American guy
Yeah.
style, which is also a beloved aesthetic of mine.
Well, there you go. When you're done with Alice, give Malice a
Malice.
try.
Oh,
Yes.
I remember
Work your
this.
way
through
I
it.
love
God,
hammers
I
in
do remember
games
this now too.
Yeah, big old hammer, right? Yeah.
It's like
My
if Twee
God.
went rotten, is what these games are. The
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
aesthetic is like if you left Twee out too long.
Yuck.
Yeah.
Yuck.
And it learned about death.
Did the
Yeah.
Harajuku girls develop
Fucked
this?
up.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's just it's so edgy. I love that kind of harmlessly edgy, where it's just like a haunted house sort of edgy, where it's just like
Yeah, like
crazy
that's-
people are scary. It's
Yeah.
just like okay,
Like that
all right.
Skittles Darkened Sky game
Yeah,
for GameCube.
Dark and Sky is the other. That's the
Yes,
other.
yeah.
That and that Gwen Stefani game, for whatever reason, are like the same thing in my head. I have to
Yes,
say,
they
remember
are,
Gwen
they
Stefani did
are.
the Skittles game? Oh wait, no, those are two separate games.
I think that's why I didn't know about Malice, because I had already had the Skittles game in my head, so I didn't have room for anything
same
else.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually it's on Game Pass. It's American
'cause
McGee's Alice Madness Returns, which is the second game. That's on Game Pass. So I booted that up, and it said at the bottom of the list, "Play American McGee's Alice," and I was like, "Shut the fuck up! Both games are in here." So I'm doing that, and then I'm
Nice.
gonna have to play the
I
second
think
one.
I like
too,
the
'cause I'm
second
in too
one.
deep.
No.
Maybe the second one's good. I don't
think
know. I
I
never
liked
played the
it.
second one.
I remember the general. I don't think I played it, but I seem to remember the take at the time being like, "This was unnecessary."
Like a lot of American McGee's games.
Not Bad Day L.A. Now that's a. All right.
American McGee lives in China now, so
Yeah.
hopefully
He does.
China's American McGee's Alice next. I'm looking forward to that.
China's
I looked up
Americans.
his Wikipedia because I was like, where is he now? You know, he's just farting around and has a Patreon, and that's
Yeah, doing his
fine,
thing
I
and-
guess. He's
yeah.
got a studio, but I found out his son's name or his daughter's name is also unfortunate. So we've got American McGee, and we also have Lucky Jack McGee. Is the
That's a
kid's
great
name?
name.
I think that's. Yeah. I don't know.
I actually like that
Yeah,
quite a bit.
sounds like he
Like,
won.
I
Not
love
bad.
it, but it's just like, of course.
I just
you know?
got inspired.
Yeah.
Lucky Jack.
Oh god.
I had never for like this is gonna sound dumb, but I don't think I had ever really sat down and really thought about the name American McGee until you just said that, and I'm like,
McGee.
yeah, that
It's
is
his real
that is
name.
crazy.
I
Yeah,
don't,
that's-
it's not
yeah.
a fake ass name. It's a
No, it's
real.
not.
His parents named him American.
That's I don't know. Yeah, sure.
How
why not?
about that?
how about
Kinda cool.
that? Let's get
Kinda
into some
cool.
emails.
How about that?
I love it. Yeah, Lucky Jack McGee is definitely a David Lynch character.
yeah.
You're right, Chad.
Bombcast@giantbomb.com is the email address that you can send emails to if you want me to maybe see them. How about that? I've pulled a few
About that.
here. A lot of people wrote in and asked questions about the Microsoft Activision stuff, and we already touched on most of those questions for sure. But
We'll
Ben
talk
in
about it on
Seattle,
Grub Snacks a lot too. So if you want to
Yeah.
show up for Grub Snacks,
Yes.
we can talk about it there.
yeah, talk about it Thursday. I'm sure they'll, obviously there'll be more and more
Oh, yeah.
details to firm up over the coming year. Ben in Seattle writes in and says, I'm a couple of weeks behind on the podcast, so maybe others address this, but to bring light to the biome question and discussion. Ben writes in and says, for background, I am a 3D artist at 343 Industries on the character team currently, but the skill sets all overlap. The word biome is absolutely used by environment art teams to refer to a set of what you were referring to as an environment type or level. Think snowy, desert, jungle, woods, swampy, etc. For each biome, you make pieces that match the set: snow-covered rocks for snowy, sandy hills for desert, mossy paths for woods, etc., etc. These sets could be used to make multiple levels that have the same biome type. You might make a handful of levels, islands, areas with the same set of snowy rocks, hills, paths, and appropriate foliage. This goes for procedurally generated stuff like No Man's Sky or handmade worlds like our game. Game scale has gotten so large, we simply need to make pieces that get reused. Anyway, this has gotten long, but I hope that brings some clarity. Not sure of the origin, to be honest, but I can tell you this verbiage was used when I was in school in 2010, which is a lot
Yeah.
longer than I feel like. I haven't been that long, but like I said, I feel like the term kind of gained a popularity around Minecraft when people talked about
I think
procedurally
in gaming it
generated
definitely
stuff.
did.
And
I had heard about it.
reemerged with Returnal.
Mm.
Yeah, Returnal like in the marketing for sure. The first place I ever heard it was in the Star Wars fandom in that time between like when the special editions were first coming out and people were like, talking about Star Wars a lot, but there wasn't like a lot of official stuff. Like we would refer to each planet as having its own biome. So like there was the desert biome of Tatooine and stuff like that, and that got talked about a ton. So I think a lot of that language just kind of drifted over whenever you're sort of talking about environments like that. So that was like in the 90s and stuff. So I in gaming, I think it was definitely with something like Minecraft and sort of computer generated levels and stuff like that. So yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Next up, Nick from Michigan, who says he does not play hockey. This email is titled, Jeff Bakalar is a bully in my dreams.
Oh, I thought we played against this person's team last week. Anyway, go ahead.
In my dream the other night, Jeff Bakalar was in a car with me and some other random people I did not know. We were looking for a house party, but kept going the wrong way, so we were in this car for a while. The whole time, Bakalar kept making fun of me and being a jerk simply because I did not play hockey. He kept saying stuff like, and I'm going to need you to repeat this.
Oh, good.
They call me Dr. Hockey and I'm going to fix you up. So if you could just give me a line read on that, saying that as if you were a bully.
Hey, they call me Dr. Hockey and I'm going to fix you up.
Perfect. Moving on.
Good take.
And when I would say something, he would come back with, what's that, ankle bender?
What? I think it's ankle breaker, like someone who hasn't tightened their skates.
I assume so.
Well
I don't
enough?
know, but he doesn't play hockey, so how would he know? So give me a what's that ankle bender?
Ankle bender, yeah, exactly.
What's that ankle bender?
Okay. Now I'm guessing Dr. Hockey isn't a jerk in real life.
Ooh, Dr. Hockey's not bad though.
Yeah.
All right.
But having dealt with people like that in high school, I'm wondering who were the jerks, bullies, and dirtbags in your high schools, and how did you end up handling them? By staying out of their way. I don't know, the locker room bully that I had a locker next to when I was in PE class in high school. He ended up going on to, I think, hang a lot of drywall and go to a lot of jail. So
in that order?
Yeah, I
He's
think
in
that
the
order.
gutter.
Or a little bit of both. So I think you just take the long game, just like take the long view and just be like, you'll get yours somehow eventually, or you'll hold a public office, or
I don't know.
Yeah, they'll either be incarcerated or president. So flip a coin.
I don't know why, but my freshman year, the kind of high school bully that I had left me alone after our school's spring musical, because his justification was, I don't know, man, that guy sings and dances and shit. Who knows what the fuck he might do? So
I love how someone perceives that a bully is like, that's threatening.
I
probably knows Tai Chi or something.
Yeah, he could probably kick my head off.
I mooned the table next to us at lunch, which that eventually led to a situation where a bunch of them were beating me up in the hallway, and I forgot that I had an airsoft gun in my backpack from the day before.
Whoa!
This was just after Columbine.
Hey, it's the 90s.
So when they ripped open my backpack and that fell on the floor, I got a 90-day suspension from school. So
holy shit!
Whoa!
Yeah.
90 days.
Whoa!
90 days, yeah. They called it expulsion, but it was basically just a long suspension. I came back
90
that year,
days is like half the year.
I know. I still graduated on time. It wasn't a problem. I took a typing class, and the English teacher I had, who I never spoke to before, came to me, he's like, "Listen, you be a good kid now." I'm like, "Okay, dude, whatever." Like, but
oh my God,
so don't show your butt to people. Is basically the lesson I learned there.
Did they back away from you when the gun fell out? Were they like, oh fuck?
They knew immediately it was a toy, and that did not stop them from being like, sweet, we can get this guy in more trouble. So like they ran to the teacher. They were like mostly they were like beating me up. Like I was walking in the hallway trying to get away from them because they had like ganged up, and I was new, so it was like a bunch of other kids that were not going to stand up for me. So they were pulling in my backpack and stuff and it ripped. Fell open right there, and they saw it was a toy, and they're like, it's for airsoft, it looks real enough, so they're like, we're gonna go tell on this kid, and then that was that.
Dude, I'm so sorry you did that. Also, what the fuck are you doing with an airsoft gun in school? But also,
ADD as hell, so I just forgot it. I forgot it even existed. It was just in my backpack. I never even looked at my backpack in school. I never needed to. I was just like,
I feel like that's so much worse than your bare ass in lunch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yes. Yeah. No one cared about the mooning. No one cared about that.
That was.
They were just like, that was an excuse to like, hey, we're gonna go get in a fight or whatever. So.
Oh, I'm sorry, Grubb.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Bakalar.
Yeah. How old were you?
I 10th grade, so what? It would be like 15, probably 14, 15, something like that. Yeah.
The least awkward.
I got a job. I got a job at Kroger and came back to school, and it was nothing. It was not a big deal. It was.
What was your return like? Were you like this legend person?
There was definitely like
the new kid again.
For the most part. Like there's like this is like the suburbs of Columbus. So there were like 2,000 kids at the school. Most people forgot about it like pretty quickly. It was not that big a deal.
You didn't become like the gun guy. Wasn't
no,
like,
look out. I did not become the gun guy. I definitely like had a reputation for not caring as much after that. But it's like, it's all half your classes. Like, I'm in typing. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
So,
the typing classes, I just did not understand. Like, I feel like we're relatively the same age.
But think about how well you can type now, though. I mean, think about how much time you spend typing.
Dude, you're talking to Mr. Keyboard.
I already could type pretty fast by the time I got to a typing class, but like some people can't.
But no, exactly. That's my point. Is like, why? I mean, yeah, I guess I don't know. It just seems.
Do they even teach it anymore because everybody like just uses.
Yeah, but
I doubt it, right?
They've gotten rid of most electives at this point, so I bet they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Did y'all have like a itchy green blanket to put over your hands in your keyboard or typing?
No,
classes?
they would put a folder. They put like a manila folder over it.
We never. Yeah, I had to take. I had to take typing. They wouldn't let you take a computer class until you took typing.
Oh.
And so I had to enroll in a typing class, and then I eventually convinced that teacher of just like, look, I got a computer since I was like fucking 6. Just let me move over to the computer class, and I talked him into it. But like they taught typing on Apple IIs, on the same Apple IIs they use for the computer class, and so I never really had to take any real tests. I don't think they ever did the like cover your hands and let you type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never. They never did that to me either. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember switching around all the keycaps to spell profane shit.
Yeah.
I didn't really have like I don't know if you had typing classes, Jen. You're the youngest person here, aren't you?
Yeah, I had a typing class. I never made it to the green blanket. I was terrible at typing back in the day.
I don't think they did that stuff to us, but like computer class was just computer class. We didn't have typing class, but all the games on the computers were, educational, edutainment games like Mavis Beak can teach us typing, Math Blaster, Hot Dog Stand, Oregon Trail, that sort of garbage. Hot Dog Stand.
Yeah.
I still feel bad. I was so shitty to this person in their dream.
Yeah, you're real messed up, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta work.
Dr. Hockey.
Yeah, Dr. Hockey.
Yeah.
Dr. Hockey's a fucking dick.
Yeah.
Alter ego, Dr. Hockey.
Turns out.
I had a dream where Dan Reichert was.
No, end it there. What?
It was like a time loop dream where I had to prevent something bad from happening, and I was
in
a
too
library.
Involved of dreams from what you've told me.
Super involved, and a lot of like repetitive, repeating dreams that are like very in depth for no real reason. But it was a time loop situation, like a time loop game where you have to solve a problem before it happens, prevent a bad thing from happening. And I was in a library, and there was
right,
yeah, basically. But I needed, in order to stop like something crazy bad was going to happen in this library, like a shooter situation or something like that. Jesus. And I had to convince Dan Reichert to leave a table and go somewhere else and be in like the bathroom or something like that, so that he wasn't around when this happened, because he like inexplicably led this person to like lose their mind and go postal or something like that. And no matter how many
more
times,
often than you would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So no matter how many times I restarted this loop, I could not trick Dan to go like to the bathroom or somewhere else, because if I did it directly, he'd be like, "Why?" And if I tried to trick him, he's like, "What are you up to? Why do you want me to go to the bathroom so bad?" And it was just like this whole thing where he was just too dumb to go to the bathroom, and it was so annoying.
Yeah, that was actually the first pitch for Back to School, was getting Dan to convince or persuade someone to do something. It didn't work because he wound up persuading himself, and it was a whole fucking disaster.
It was a whole thing.
This is what Hit Dan could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right, let's take this last one here. Wes from Louisville writes in with a real or fake kind of quiz for us. Says, I was watching GDQ, the big old speedrun marathon that happened recently. Congratulations to them. They raised a whole lot of money. And I thought of a quick game for the Bombcast. Here's a list of techniques used in speedruns of SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom.
I didn't watch this one.
Okay, so if you watch this one, stay out of this.
Okay.
Okay. These are like the hack names, like the maneuvering.
Yes, the names of the techniques used. The game is to choose which is real tech named by the community and which is tech I made up.
Okay.
Jan, you can answer last. How about that? Let everybody, because you might remember some of these.
I had it. I wasn't actively listening to it, so I may not have heard everything.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a batch of these. Here we go. Skee ball abuse.
It's fake.
Fake.
I'm gonna believe and say that's real.
We're gonna say fake.
That one is real.
Did I watch?
I believe in the SpongeBob community. I do.
They believe
Anchor arms boost.
That feels real because Anchor.
Yeah,
C
it's too
stuff.
gamey.
Yeah.
It's fake. Yeah.
That one is fake. Bubble zip.
Real.
Yeah, real.
Yeah, I'll go real. Why not?
Fake.
This is just impossible.
Cruise boost.
Fake.
Flip a coin. Again? Fake.
Fake.
SpongeBob loves to cruise. Cruise boost is real. SpongeBall displacement jump.
Fake.
Fake.
Real.
Fake.
That one's real.
Fuck this. Get out of here.
Again, I'm getting every one of these wrong.
Yeah.
Bunch of ankle benders.
Yeah. Swing stalling.
Real.
Fake.
I go wait. Okay, I was gonna say I'll just do the opposite of what Bakalar does.
Yeah, that one's real. Kiss skip.
Real. I want to believe.
That's just advice.
Yeah, real.
That one's fake.
Damn it.
2 more. Backwards long jellyfish.
Real.
Fake.
Real.
Fake.
Backwards long jellyfish. What are
Fast
we doing?
nut.
Real.
Real. Finally.
Real.
One real thing.
I think that's real.
That one's real.
Fast nut.
It's probably the same.
Nut.
There's probably a similar one for Super Mario Galaxy. Or Odyssey.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. A lot of fast nutting.
Nut.
You know what? Let's take one more here. Raz writes in and says, I recently told my friend about the time where I plugged a controller into the second slot while my sister's boyfriend played Duck Hunt. I told my friend I could control the ducks. He said I was crazy. So I needed to humiliate my friend by proving I'm right on a podcast. Can you control a duck with the second controller?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Take that,
I have a
friend.
feeling you could.
Yeah. And it's technically the first controller because I think the gun goes into port 2.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's the first part too.
Yeah. But there
It's
you
in
go.
the manual, apparently.
Yes,
Is it?
yes,
That's cool.
yes. That stuff is
Prove it to him with
straight
the
up.
manual if you got that.
Yeah, that's like so. That's I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm old, but here's a thing that really pisses me off that kids do on the internet.
What grinds your gears, man?
What really grinds my gears is when these motherfuckers go out there and they make viral videos that do tons of views on a TikTok or another platform that is saying like, did you know that you can hold down A and press start to continue in Super Mario Brothers?
I knew it was going to be that one. I saw that one too. It made me so mad. I saw that
fucking assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, I get it. You're right, but also, you know, everything's fucked, man. Like,
Kids don't know about manuals anymore.
How do you know that? How do you not know that shit?
You know, the idea,
What's old is
the
new.
concept of manuals is completely obsolete. There's no manuals anymore.
Yeah.
It's all tutorial levels, and I think that that sucks. In general,
everything's cyclical. That's it. What's old is new.
Bring manuals back.
This happens.
And and another generation will come after this one that also doesn't know that. And so it's not the last time this is not the first time I've seen that video be made and have minds blown. And every time I just go like, God, how do you not know that? God damn.
But like, how would someone know that? Like through osmosis, through DNA memory generation?
The playground,
like
Kojima
the
wrote all about
playground.
this.
The playground.
I learned the hard way by fucking around and being bored that if you turn on Transbot for the Master System while holding down button 1 on the controller, it eventually goes into a debug menu that you can turn on stuff with.
That's cool.
I remember Mega Man.
Yeah.
Mega Man. I remember Mega Man 3. My brother and I accidentally discovered that if you held a direction in the D-pad on the second controller, Mega Man could jump like 4 times higher the whole time.
Wow.
And we would like put a chair on the controller and just fucking cheat our way through that impossible game.
I feel like a lot of modern games don't have these secrets anymore. They don't have easily accessible debug menus or something. You just hold down a button accidentally and discover this weird inner working of, what you're doing here. And that sucks too. Y'all are missing out on the weird discovery of
in 20 years, there's going to be TikToks or whatever it is about how you have to delete your save in Inscription or whatever, and they're going to get it wrong and confuse a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
I think like what was the big last hurrah for good cheat codes? Was it like the Grand Theft Auto, like was it San Andreas and stuff? Like Well, Crackdown, they eventually just sold cheats for it. Like the Xbox 360 and achievements, kind of the side effect of achievements is that like cheat codes kind of went away. And people like EA started selling like, here's a fully maxed level Tiger Woods for $3.
Saints Row the third, I want to say, had cheats, and then it would just disable your achievements if you turn them on.
Right. Yeah, I think that's right.
That would make sense. The last game that I remember writing down a whole bunch of cheats for, or printing out a whole bunch of cheats from GameFAQs for, was, I believe, like Animal Crossing or something like that, and on the GameCube. Yeah,
because there were you weird, like you could enter specific. You could go buy an item and it would ask you for a code to enter, and you would enter the code and then get back like Mike Tyson's Punch Out or something like that.
Yes,
and there were
That was like the last thing I remember like printing out and like keeping in the little jewel case all folded up. All my little cheats.
Man, I saw a Game Shark at a Goodwill over the weekend.
Those were so cool.
And I was like, whoa, these will never exist again.
Yeah, I think
Game Shark
got my
so
Tetris
cool.
cartridge with my Game Shark codes on it right in here somewhere.
Oh shit!
It's like the fun thing about Cheat Engine on the PC is that it kind of brings back that Game Shark vibe.
It's the same basic tech, right?
Yeah.
Trainers.
I used to steal Pokemon with my Game Shark, my Game Boy Color, and I felt like a fucking badass Team Rocket motherfucker.
You're a criminal. Yeah.
Oh, it felt good to be bad. So cool.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yes, I have all the starters. Yes, this is the only way I know how to do it.
You
No, I don't have friends.
Yeah,
yes, I have a Game Shark.
Friends trading for starters. Who has time for that shit?
None of my fucking friends played games. Like, all the boys didn't want to hang out with me because ew, girls, icky, and none of the girls played fucking Game Boy Color. What was I supposed to fucking do? I had one cousin that I managed to trick into giving me her Eevee by giving her a level 80 Snorlax, and it did not ever listen to her.
She couldn't even...
What a sentence. What a sentence.
And now all the kids are raising cats and eggs and Roblox. You just missed your time. Missed your time.
Yeah.
Well,
did you steal my Neopets, Jess? You brought Neopets up earlier.
Which I might have.
Yeah. Probably. In some weird way, this Activision Microsoft thing is Microsoft, the company that kind of popularized the modern achievement, buying the company that popularized the old school achievement, where if you sent them a photo of your score, they would send you a patch in the mail that you could put on your jacket.
Yeah.
Like, I got all these points in Kaboom. Fuck you.
Oh, that's cool.
And those patches are still so good looking.
They're so
awesome.
good. They should bring that back. All right, that's going to do it for us here. Jeff Grubb, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
that was a lot of fun.
Tune on Thursday for Grubb Snacks.
Yep.
Here at giantbomb.com. And we'll be back next week with another episode of the Giant Bombcast. The Community Game of the Year voting is underway. There's a link in the chat right now if you're watching live. Our Game of the Year will happen next week. We're going to be podcasting starting Wednesday. We'll have some guest lists. We'll have our lists. We'll come up with some categories, all that sort of stuff. And we'll podcast about it. Talk about this Metroid Dread game I've heard so much about.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, right?
What?